purely educational spaces. Since we would be discussing SMEs, so the disclaimer has to be more proper because these are low liquidity and the companies with very comparatively less information available in public domain. So I would encourage everyone not to act on the names which we would be discussing in the course of this session.
Prince, let me know when you want me to start. Yeah, if you want to give a few minutes, five for people to join, then we can do that as well. Yeah.
Chintan, it's time, so we'll be starting. So, guys, let me take an opportunity to introduce our guest for today. So, today we got Chintan Parikh, an individual investor. He's primarily focused on the SME and small cap companies, and like he always share interesting data and insight regarding the SMEs and small caps over his handle as well. So, if you are seeing his handle for the first time, so definitely you can get in touch with the handle for those updates. So, Chintan, to start with, I would request you to add to your intro in case I missed on to anything, and then we will like request you an opening note on the SME space from the very basic, so as to understand the space, and then we will be coming to how we can identify good opportunities, and especially a lot of SME IPOs had come in the last year, and even now also we see many IPOs coming. So, what would be the various things we need to look at, and that can help us from entering into wrong companies and picking the right ones, so as to bring the risk reward ratio in our favor. So, Chintan, over to you.
Perfect. First of all, Prince, thank you for giving me this platform. Yeah. And guys, thank you for joining in on Saturday on a long weekend. So thank you very much for giving time to listen to me. My name is Chintan. I'm basically I'm a Gujarati, born and brought up in Ahmedabad. Did my schooling, my engineering from there, and then I did my MBA from Pune. And I joined Infosys in IT company, basically. After Infosys, I joined TCS, and currently I'm working with a French IT company called Atos. I'm based currently in Munich, in Germany. And besides my normal 9 to 5, I focus on stock market, try to find opportunities, try to research companies, try to read RHPs of the companies which are bringing their IPOs, try to speak to promoters and make a sense of where I should park money, get some money. My investing style basically it's a mix of both fundamental and technical. For the IPOs, obviously there is no technical history there, so you have to rely on the sector, your and the promoter, the business, the financials, and try to understand the multiple which they are offering and make a decision there. Yeah. I'll try to mix both Hindi and English. So uh, and if you have any questions, feel free to request for asking a question, and Prince Bhai will allow you to speak. Yeah. So what we'll do is that मैं पहले थोड़ा एसएमई के बारे में समझाऊंगा क्योंकि बहुत सुना जाता है कि पहले स्टॉक मार्केट ही एक सट्टा है और उसमें भी जो सीरियस इन्वेस्टर है वो बोलते हैं कि एसएमई उससे भी बड़ा सट्टा है उसमें तो आई एम हियर टू जस्ट एक्सप्लेन फ्यू थिंग्स व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज एसएमई व्हाई आई लाइक एसएमई मैं क्या देखता हूँ एक कंपनी में जब मुझे इन्वेस्ट ना होता है वेदर एट द टाइम ऑफ आईपीओ और आफ्टर द कंपनी हैज लिस्टेड एंड आई वांट टू बाय तो मैं क्या देखता हूँ व्हाट आर द पैरामीटर्स दैट आई लुक फॉर that is something I will talk about today. Yeah. What we'll do is that I'll talk about the SME first of all, how the whole thing started, then talk about what one should look into a company, whether how to invest into that. So if you look at the emergence of SME market in India, we have to also understand कि we were not the first country to start SME market. Yeah. सबसे पहले चाइना ने किया था. They had started something called Shenzhen Stock Exchange in China, which started somewhere in 1987. और तब से लेकर अभी तक they have listed close to 3,000 company, 2,800 companies have been listed in this platform. And recently that also got merged with the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Yeah. So China was first one to encourage their SME companies to be listed, and we have seen the kind of growth which China has experienced in last few years. uh, and how their SMEs started becoming the manufacturing hub of the world. Yeah. After China, the biggest one is in UK, where they have a platform called AIM, which also focuses on companies. And UK actually has the highest amount of SME company listed there, close to 5,000 companies are listed in AIM UK. Then it came to India, and well, I mean, in between few other countries also had their SME platform, but now we come to India. तो BSC ने सबसे पहले शुरू किया. It's called BSC SME platform, and then NSE started in 2013, 1 year after BSC, where the platform is called NSE Emerge. Yeah. The question is that why a promoter should come to SME. द रीजन इज दैट बिकॉज यहाँ पे लिस्टिंग काफी सीधा साधा है. प्रमोटर को बहुत ज्यादा रेगुलेटरी हर्डल्स नहीं आती है. अगर कोई कंपनी मेन बोर्ड में लिस्ट करनी है तो प्रमोटर को सेबी से अप्रूवल लगती है. द होल प्रोसेस टेक्स रफली 9 to 10 months फॉर अ कंपनी टू गेट लिस्टेड इनटू अ मेन बोर्ड. उसके काफी स्ट्रिक्ट रूल्स है, रेगुलेशन अबाउट नेटवर्थ, अबाउट financial valuation of the company, the financial health of the company. जबकि अगर एसएमई देखा जाए तो एसएमई में थोड़ा सा रूल्स रिलैक्स है, इसलिए वो थोड़ा सा रिस्की कहला जाता है. अगर हम रूल्स की बात करें तो एज अ प्रमोटर व्हाई डू यू वांट टू गेट लिस्टेड इनटू एसएमई? बिकॉज अगर आपको ग्रोथ के लिए कैपिटल चाहिए तो या तो आप अपने फ्रेंड्स फैमिली को अप्रोच करेंगे एंड यूल गेट दैट मनी, और यूल गो टू अ बैंक और एनबीएफसी टू गेट दैट मनी. यहाँ पे आपको इंटरेस्ट देना है. देयर इज अ द कॉस्ट ऑफ द कैपिटल इज बिट हायर. जबकि आप स्टॉक मार्केट में लिस्ट कराएंगे, स्पेशली इन एसएमई, द प्रोसेस इज सिंपलर. यूल गेट लिस्टेड इन 4-5 months, 3-4 months if you got a good LM, and you will get your fund immediately, and the cost of these funds are also not very high. Yeah. And the promoters start seeing the results with respect to the increase in reputation, कि भाई एम्प्लॉय को रिटेन करना है, ESOPs दे सकते हैं. So all this parameter led to a kind of a boom in the SME listing in India. अगर हम 2023 की बात करते हैं स्पेसिफिकली, सो इन 2023 वी हैड क्लोज टू 170 to 180 company got listed in 2023. Yeah. And I'll come to some of those statistics as well in a few slides. Yeah. Now, if we talk about both NSE Emerge और BSE SME, तो रफली BSE SME में रफली 450 जितनी कंपनियां ऑलरेडी लिस्ट हो चुकी है. NSE में रफली 400 जितनी कंपनियां लिस्ट हो चुकी है अभी तक. The combined market cap of both of them are more than 1 lakh crore. Yeah. And the combined CAGR or CAGR of all this company listed has been close to 35 to 40% year on year. Yeah. So that means the SME companies have created definitely a very good wealth for the investors, even though it is risky. और रिस्क है, इसीलिए गवर्नमेंट और सेबी ने जो रूल्स बनाए हैं कि हाँ भाई, इसमें लॉट साइज में ट्रेड हो सकता है. अगर आप इन्फोसिस का या टीसीएस का सिर्फ एक शेयर खरीदना चाहते हो, आप खरीद सकते हो, बट एसएमई कंपनी में ऐसा नहीं होता है, आपको लॉट के हिसाब से लेना पड़ता है. सो दैट्स व्हाई दे हैव, लेट्स से, प्रोटेक्टेड द स्मॉल रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स, that they cannot, let's say, they cannot go into this kind of little higher speculative domain of investing. Why this is speculative? Because being a SME company, यहाँ पे एनालिस्ट का फोकस नहीं होता है, यहाँ पे रिसर्च इतनी ज़्यादा अवेलेबल नहीं होती है. सो यू हैव टू रिलाई ऑन योर विट्स, योर ओन रिसर्च. आपको खुद मेहनत करनी पड़ती है, आपको प्रमोटर से कनेक्ट बना के कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन निकालनी पड़ती है. सो हियर द इंफॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री इज मच मच हायर, और इसके लिए एसएमई कंपनियों में इन्वेस्ट करना थोड़ा सा रिस्की कहा जाता है, और बात सही भी है. When we look at what kind of IPO comes into SME, basically there are two types of basic IPO in SME. One is called the fixed price IPO, और दूसरा होता है बुक बिल्डिंग प्रोसेस और बुक बिल्ट आईपीओ से. तो फिक्स प्राइस में सिंपल है कि आपका प्राइस फिक्स है आईपीओ का, कि भाई मेरा शेयर आएगा वो 150 रुपए के प्राइस पे आएगा. जबकि बुक बिल्ट में वो बुक बिल्डिंग प्रोसेस होती है, उसमें हमें बैंड दिया जाता है. प्राइस शेयर की 110 रुपए से 120 रुपए में हो सकती है, और जिस तरह से सब्सक्रिप्शन आएगा उस हिसाब से उसका प्राइस डिसाइड हो जाता है. Yeah. Another notable difference between both of them is that कि fixed price में जो डेप्थ ऑफ पार्टिसिपेंट्स है या ब्रेथ ऑफ पार्टिसिपेंट्स है वो काफी लिमिटेड रहती है, बिकॉज मार्केट मेकर्स को 5% रहता है यूजुअली, और बाकी का जो है वो इक्वली हाई नेटवर्थ इंडिविजुअल्स और रिटेल में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होता है। तो दोनों को एच एन आईज और एन आई आईज विल गेट समवेयर अराउंड 47-48%, एंड अनदर रिटेल गाइज गेट 47-48%, या डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द लॉट साइज। तो यहाँ पे फिक्स प्राइस में थोड़ा सा रिस्क रिटेल का और बढ़ जाता है, जबकि बुक बिल्ड में देर आर मोर मैच्योर्ड मार्केट पार्टिसिपेंट्स दैट कम इन वाया द फॉर्म ऑफ एंकर्स एंड द क्यूआईबी। So anchors are institutions which invest into the book building process. QIB qualified institutional buyers. They are governed by very strict standards. So एंकर वाली जो कंपनियां रहती है, बुक बिल्ट आईपीओ जो रहते हैं, वो टेंड टू गिव अ बिट बेटर रिटर्न्स, टेंड टू गिव मोर सिक्योर रिटर्न्स कंपेयर टू द फिक्स प्राइस आईपीओ। ओके, usually the way it works is that anchor ka portion ideally should be between 15 to 25% or 30%. QIB ka again 15-20%, NII HNI का 14-15%, और रिटेल का रफली 35% रहता है। तो यहाँ पे अगर आप अप्लाई कर रहे हैं एसएमई आईपीओ में इन दिस काइंड ऑफ बुक बिल्ट आईपीओ, मेरा सजेशन रहेगा कि आप रिटेल में करें, क्योंकि वहाँ पे आपका अलोकेशन का चांस बढ़ जाता है। आप मल्टीपल अकाउंट से करें, मल्टीपल पान, सो वन पान वन एप्लीकेशन, दैट कैन गेट यू अ बेटर अलोकेशन चांसेस। लॉट ऑफ टाइम पीपल आस्क मी कि भाई चिंतन भाई, आपको एसएमई में आईपीओ में कितना अलॉटमेंट किस तरह से मिलता है? सो आई यूजुअली अप्लाई फ्रॉम account, and I sometimes apply multiple lots from some accounts. Some accounts I apply as a retail, and luckily I get a bit more lucky in my allocations. Yeah. So look at the subscription, look at कि कौन से में कितना सब्सक्रिप्शन हुआ है और आपको कहाँ पे ज़्यादा allocation के chances है, उस हिसाब से मैं अपना strategy करता हूँ। Now coming to identifying SME companies, की मैं कैसे कंपनियों को identify करता हूँ। So the whole game about SME is about the liquidity and the information asymmetry. Yeah? अब जो इन्फॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री, आपको जब तक आप प्रमोटर से बात नहीं करोगे, जब तक आप वो सर्कल में नहीं हो, आपको नहीं पता चलेगा। बट आपको लिक्विडिटी का तो इजीली पता चल जाता है कि भाई कितना फ्लोट अवेलेबल है मार्केट में, किसने कितना माल उठाया है, किसने कितना माल कैप्चर किया हुआ है, आइदर थ्रू प्री आईपीओ और थ्रू एज अ क्यूआईबी और वाया द in pre-opening or the few days of the listing of the company. Prince, I hope I am audible, and
Yes, yes, go on. I'll stop in case I won't,
okay, perfect.
will not be able to hear. Yeah, you can continue.
Perfect. So एसएमई में जो मेन जो होता है, इट इज ऑल अबाउट लिक्विडिटी, या बिकॉज यहाँ पे लॉट साइज में ट्रेड होता है, तो लिक्विडिटी और द फ्लोट इज ऑलवेज लो। और अगर किसी ने फ्लोट कैप्चर कर लिया, तो दैट मीन्स दैट कि यहाँ पे स्टॉक का रिटर्न्स कुछ डिसेंट मिल सकता है इन अ शॉर्ट टर्म, और समटाइम्स इवन इन द लॉन्ग रन एज वेल। या very recent example was VR Infra, which was a IPO where there wasn't much activity that happened. And luckily, I picked up few lots and made a decent return in just 11, 12 days of holding. Yeah, I already booked partial profit there, which I also already mentioned in my Twitter profile. But here it was very much the case in point कि liquidity पूरी capture कर ली थी promoter group ने या promoter के known बंदों ने first day of listing और listing. Yeah. तो ये आपको थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखना है कि किस तरह से लिक्विडिटी मैनेज हो रही है, किस तरह से लिक्विडिटी कैप्चर हो रही है, एंड यू कैन मेक दिस काइंड ऑफ अ जजमेंट कॉल एंड टेक सम एक्सपोजर। अगर आप नए हैं, अगर आपको ज्यादा इसका आइडिया नहीं है, तो थोड़ा सा कम एक्सपोजर रखिए, एक ही लॉट लीजिए, देख लीजिए, पुट अ स्टॉप लॉस। ओके, मेनी पीपल ऑल्सो आस्क मी कि डू आई कीप स्टॉप लॉसेस? सो यस, मैं स्टॉप लॉस रखता हूँ मेरे ट्रेड में। जब तक वो मैं मतलब 6-7% के प्रॉफिट में नहीं रहता हूँ, तब तक मेरा स्टॉप लॉस रहता है। उसके बाद देन आई कीप स्विचिंग बेस्ड ऑन दी हाउ द स्टॉक इज फेयरिंग, या ऑन अ डे टू डे, डेली उसका प्राइस या वॉल्यूम मूवमेंट देख के देन आई मेक एडजस्टमेंट। बट यस, आई डू कीप स्टॉप लॉसेस इन द सिस्टम, नॉट इन माई हेड, and that also helps generate the liquidity. and rotate my money. Yeah. So if you look at some of the numbers, so those, as I said, roughly 175, 180 companies came, yeah. And I did some number crunching there. And if we look at it, close to 86% of the IPO which had book built IPO type, या जहाँ पे एंकर इन्वेस्टर थे, तो रफली 86% में वो गेन के साथ लिस्ट हुआ है, जबकि फिक्स प्राइस आईपीओ में रफली 70% ऑफ द आईपीओ लिस्टेड विद द गेन. तो डेफिनेटली अगर बुक बिल्ड है तो आप रिस्क थोड़ा ज्यादा ले सकते हैं वहां पे, आपको लॉस का चांस थोड़ा कम रहेगा, लिस्टिंग लॉस की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, और कंपेयर टू द फिक्स प्राइस आईपीओ. नाउ इफ आई लुक एट द नंबर्स लिटिल बिट मोर, कि मैं बुक बिल्ड आईपीओ में देखूंगा कि भाई कितने आईपीओ में 50% से ज्यादा लिस्टिंग गेन मिला है, तो रफली 46% of book built IPOs have given close more than 50% return on listing, while only 14% of the fixed price IPO have given listing gain more than 50%. तो that definitely favors कि हाँ भाई जो हैं वो आंख बंद करके पैसे नहीं डाल रहे हैं, उनके पास कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन है तभी वो वहां पे अपने पैसे डाल रहे हैं. QIB is also are not retailers, they have more access to the lead managers, to merchant bankers, to the promoters, they do their due diligence. तो वहां पे डेफिनेटली अगर आप एंकर इन्वेस्टर्स देख रहे हैं कोई अच्छे जैसे है, वहां पे आपको रिटर्न्स के चांसेस बढ़ जाते हैं. सो कीप दैट इन माइंड. देर इज नथिंग रॉन्ग एंड राइट एंड रॉन्ग कि भाई मुझे अभी मैं सिर्फ बुक बिल्ड आईपीओ पे ही ध्यान दूंगा और फिक्स प्राइस पे नहीं दूंगा, ऐसा नहीं है. देर आर क्वालिटी कंपनी विच कम्स इन बोथ एंड देर आर नॉट सो गुड कंपनी कम्स इन बोथ द सिनारियोज. या सो इट इज लाइक वंस यू स्टार्ट, आप जैसे आगे बढ़ते जाएंगे, थोड़ा एक्सपोजर लेते जाएंगे, आपको पता चलेगा कि कैसे ये whole thing works in SME. Yeah. Second thing is that which I so the first one was how do we manage the liquidity, किस तरह से हमें देखना है कौन से so SME IPO with the book built issue will give you better. That is the first. Second point is about जब आप IPO आ रहा है तो आप देखिए प्रॉफिट मार्जिन कितना है. Yeah. So I love one of the very important parameter for me is the operating profit margin. Yeah. तो ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट मार्जिन बेसिकली ये है कि आपका कंपनी कितना रुपया बनाती है अपने बिजनेस से. ओके, फिर नेक्स्ट हमें देखना है कि भाई कितना उसका इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट जा रहा है, और व्हाट विल बी द आईपीओ प्रोसीड्स दैट इट विल यूज, कि डू यू सी अ पोटेंशियल फॉर दिस कंपनी टू हैव अ हायर प्रॉफिट मार्जिन इन फ्यूचर बेस्ड ऑन द आईपीओ मनी. अगर वहां पे मुझे वो पोटेंशियल दिखता है, देन आई डेफिनेटली लाइक टू लुक दैट कंपनी इन मच मोर डिटेल. बट अगेन सो देर आर फ्यू सेक्टर्स, अगर आप देखोगे जैसे लॉजिस्टिक सेक्टर हो गया विच इज या रिटेल सेक्टर हो गया, यूजुअली दिस काइंड ऑफ कंपनीज, या फिर ट्रेडिंग वाला बिजनेस हो गया, एग्री ट्रेडिंग है कि फार्मा ट्रेडिंग है, ये वाली कंपनियां डेफिनेटली वो वॉल्यूम गेम हो जाती है, यहाँ पे मार्जिन बहुत कम रहता है. तो यूजुअली आई अवॉइड दिस काइंड ऑफ. तो लो प्रॉफिट मार्जिन कंपनीज आर समथिंग विच वी नीड टू बी वेरी वेरी कॉशियस, कि यहाँ पे अगर हम ट्रेड कर रहे हैं तो हम क्यों कर रहे हैं. ओके, However, there are certain exception to this rule. या अगर आप देखेंगे तो एक आपको ये समझना है कि अगर कंपनी के पास वेरी क्लियर डोमिनेंस है इन अ पर्टिकुलर फील्ड और सेक्टर, कि वो आगे चल के वंस दे हैव एक्सेस टू मच हायर कैपिटल, विल दे एबल टू एक्सपैंड देयर प्रॉफिट मार्जिन. सो यू कैन लुक एट दैट कंपनी, भले उसका अभी का प्रॉफिट मार्जिन कम हो, आगे चल के देर इज अ वेरी हाई चांस, अ प्रोबेबिलिटी कि ये हायर प्रॉफिट मार्जिन कमांड कर सकता है. सेकेंड इज दैट EPC कंपनियां अगर आप देखोगे तो द वे इंडिया इज शाइनिंग, इंडिया इज ग्रोइंग, वी आर एबल टू सी दैट इन द काइंड ऑफ ऑर्डर बुक विच मैनी ऑफ द EPC कंपनी हैज. या so EPC sector definitely I have a very high regards. Many of the EPC company in the last 1 year have given, I mean, superlative returns. Yeah. And I have spoken to a lot of promoters on the EPC company, and everybody is very bullish. सो यहाँ पे जो ईपीसी कंपनी का वेरी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक इज दैट कि ये लो प्रॉफिट का बिजनेस है, आपको 5%, 10% से ज्यादा दिखेगा नहीं वहां पे. यहाँ पे आपको ऑर्डर बुक पे थोड़ा ध्यान देना है ईपीसी कंपनियों में, जहाँ पे आपको दिखे कि हाँ भाई ऑर्डर बुक काफी डिसेंट लग रही है, जो ऑर्डर्स आ रहे हैं वो भी काफी नोन कंपनियों से आ रहे हैं. सो प्लीज कीप दैट इन माइंड. जस्ट अ मोमेंट, आई विल जस्ट टेक अ सिप ऑफ वाटर. So there are so many companies which has come in the recent 6 months, which are currently in a kind of a, let's say, on a rebound phase. Yeah, I'll just give a name, but please note in some of those names I may have position. I don't endorse any of this company, but some of the EPC company that are really which has a lot of high potential. तो अगर आप देख ले तो अभी प्रथम हो गया, प्रथम ईपीसी, या फिर एबीपी हो गया, कॉन्स्टोलेक हो गया, सार टेली हो गया, केडीएल हो गया. देर आर लॉट ऑफ कंपनीज विच हैज गॉट अ ह्यूज ऑर्डर बुक. पीसी इंफ्रा हो गया, ऑल ऑफ दिस कंपनी, Vishnu Infra ho gaya, all of this company have given already quite decent returns, and they have a very book order book. Another sector on the EPC is the solar EPC side, जहाँ पे Oriana है, Alpex है, they have a very good order book. Rudra है on the gas side. So lot of development is happening all across India. The companies are making lot of winning lot of orders. There is so look at the order book of all this EPC company, even though they have a low profit margin, and that can give you an idea कि हाँ भाई आगे चल के the multiple of this company will be much higher because of the ये जो order book उनके पास है, and you can give a little higher multiple to these companies, and you can get some decent return in this. The third point will be about some IPOs coming from certain LMs, lead managers. Definitely has a lot of people take a lot of shine to it, and there is reason to it as well. अगर मैं इसकी बात करता हूँ तो हेम फाइनेंस के 100% पॉजिटिव लिस्ट हुए हैं. उनके 20 आईपीओ आए, ऑल 20 आईपीओज लिस्टेड पॉजिटिवली. GYAR Capital, again, they had 6 listing with 100% positive in all of those. Corporate Capital Ventures, again 100% listing, 100% positive listing, उनके 4 IPO आए थे. श्रेणी का है 91% positive listing. Beeline has around 90% positive listing. So these are some of these LMs which have brought quality company, quality investors into those company to ensure that कि IPO वो लेकर आएंगे, उनका नाम जुड़ रहा है तो they want to perform better. And many of the retail investors simply go just because who is the LM here, yeah. And it's not a bad strategy, and the past data definitely supports this strategy as well. तो आप देखिए कि which who is the lead manager bringing this. Definitely that plays a lot of uh, a lot of it has a lot of weightage on how the company will perform. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that all the IPOs that this LMs bring will give you superlative returns. Case in point is Sona Machinery, which was listed recently. वहाँ पे तो बहुत बड़े एस इन्वेस्टर भी है. The LM is also very very famous with a huge fan following, but the stock didn't perform. So there are always these market conditions where one needs to be aware of कि हाँ भाई क्या होगा क्या नहीं. So that's the third point which I wanted to talk about, which was key IPO with a certain LMs definitely command higher premium, and you should not ignore them. Yeah. The fifth one is very important, is about reading the RHP. क्योंकि as a retail investor you don't have access to promoter. आपके पास कभी investor deck नहीं आता है. At a certain stage now we are getting this kind of investor deck through various channels की WhatsApp में आ गया या किसी ने भेज दिया भाई ये पढ़ लेना इसका. So because I have reached this stage where I am getting connected, I get more information. But as a retail investor, आपको तो ये information, ये access नहीं मिलेगा तो क्या कर सकते हो? I didn't had that, a while back. So I went through the RHP. RHP में काफी सारी information है. मैंने काफी लोगों को बोला भाई RHP पढ़ो. वो बोलते हैं सर वो 300 पेज का होता है, इसमें पढ़ूं क्या? मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है कि 300 पेज में पढ़ूं. सो आई सेड कि यार 300 पेज है, बट उसमें देखो जो काम की चीजें होती है वो 300 पेज में तो है नहीं. कुछ कुछ आपको सेक्शन पढ़ना है. तो जैसे हो गया कि आपने समरी पढ़ लिया ऑफर डॉक्यूमेंट का कि कंपनी का बिजनेस क्या है, उसका फाइनेंशियल का समरी देख लिया आपने. थोड़ा रिस्क फैक्टर आया, एक दो बार पढ़ लोगे तो समझ में आ जाएगा कि इस पे ज्यादा मुझे ध्यान नहीं देना है. रिस्क फैक्टर में मैं जब पढ़ता हूँ अभी तो आई ओनली लुक एट एनी नंबर्स विच आर रिस्क फैक्टर. आई डोंट लुक एट ऑल द टेक्स्ट विच इज मेंशन, क्योंकि वो सब बाकी सब कहानी रहती है. जहाँ पे नंबर्स होता है वहां पे मुझे इंटरेस्ट आता है. सो आई स्किप थ्रू रिस्क फैक्टर मोस्टली. थ्री थिंग्स विच आई ऑलवेज लुक फॉर, या जितना भी अगर मैं बिजी हूँ मैं कैपिटल स्ट्रक्चर देख लेता हूँ तो मुझे इसमें कौन है, पहले से किसने लिया हुआ है क्या नहीं है, प्रमोटर ने कैसे पूरा बुक बिल्डिंग किया हुआ है अभी तक, व्हाट इज दी आईपीओ प्रोसीड्स दैट विल बी यूज फॉर, कि यहाँ पे ऑब्जेक्ट्स टू द इश्यू, या कि फंड कहाँ पे यूज होने वाला है, दैट डेफिनेटली आई रीड. बेसिस ऑफ इश्यू प्राइस की वैल्यू क्या है, बेसिस ऑफ इश्यू प्राइस में क्या, अगर आप देखना चाहते हैं तो पी देखिए, ईपीएस देखिए। उसके बाद कंपनी का एक समरी रहता है जहां पे कंपनी हैज बीन लिस्टेड अलोंग विद इट्स पीयर। तो वो आपको तीन चार कंपनियों का रिव्यू वहां पे मिल जाता है कि भाई प्रॉफिट मार्जिन ऑफ दिस कंपनी कंपेयर टू इट्स पीयर कैसा है, ग्रोथ कैसा है। यू कैन सी द रेवेन्यू प्रोफाइल एंड द प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ इन लास्ट फ्यू इयर्स इन दोज सेक्शंस। तो आपको आइडिया आता है कि हाँ भाई यहाँ पे देर इज अ डेफिनेटली अ मार्क्ड इम्प्रूव्ड, या तो इम्प्रूवमेंट है या फिर डिक्लाइन है। उसके हिसाब से आप एक कॉल ले सकते हैं। उसके बाद आपके अनदर सेक्शन दैट यू शुड रीड इज कॉल्ड अवर बिजनेस, विच इज समवेयर अराउंड 90 और 100 पेज के आजू बाजू रहता है। वहां पे आपको एटलीस्ट समझ में आएगा कि बंदे का कितना मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेसिटी क्या है, प्रोडक्ट किस तरह की है, प्रोसेस क्या होता है। तो आपको थोड़ा इंडस्ट्री का समझ में आएगा, आपको सेक्टर का अंडरस्टैंडिंग आएगा कि नेक्स्ट टाइम आप सिम इंडस्ट्री का पढ़ेंगे, यू विल लर्न लिटिल बिट मोर अबाउट द सेक्टर। एंड द लास्ट वन विल बी अबाउट द प्रमोटर ग्रुप और उनकी कौन सी एंटिटीज है। जस्ट टू गिव एन एग्जांपल, जैसे अभी एम्पीरियन कैश्यूज का एक कंपनी आया था। नाउ आई ऑल्सो डिडंट अप्लाई टू इट, और लास्ट में मुझे जो पता चला कि हाँ भाई लोगों ने अप्लाई क्यों किया, बिकॉज यहाँ पे जो प्रमोटर है ही हैज गॉट वेरी गुड हाई नेटवर्थ इंडिविजुअल है, एंड देर आर सर्टेन पॉलिटिकल कनेक्शंस। सो Empyrean has done fabulously well. कुछ I think it has given 3x 4x return, and this was a cashew trading and cashew peeling kind of a business, which was not something which I would have loved to invest in. तो मैंने तो इग्नोर कर दिया था, बट वंस यू गो एंड दैट्स हाउ यू रिफाइन योर प्रोसेस, कि आप जाके पढ़िए, अंडरस्टैंड कि व्हाट मिस्टेक्स यू डिड। या सो प्लीज रीड द आरएचपी if you are a retail investor. Try to get the sense of what works and work. Yeah. I'll just repeat some of the sections that you should read: summary of offer document, risk factor, summary of financial information, capital structure, objects to the issue, basis of issue price, business management and promoter group entities. Yeah, this should give you the crux of this. It won't take more than 1 hour, 1.5 hour, and with practice you can also do that in 30 minutes. कि भाई थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ लो, सेक्टर समझ में आ गया तो थोड़ा यू कैन स्किप एज वेल। या so once you do that, once you start reading 50 RHPs, you'll learn to discern and figure out कि हाँ भाई ये मुझे information यहाँ पे मिल रही है, मुझे ये ignore करना है। Okay. Certain sectors I tend to avoid, तो मुझे retail पसंद नहीं है सेक्टर इतना ज़्यादा, मुझे textile नहीं पसंद है, मुझे agro commodity पसंद नहीं है, मुझे pharma trading business पसंद नहीं है बिल्कुल, मुझे logistic business पसंद नहीं है इतना। But even though, for an example, logistic में there is an exception. So I did not subscribe to SJ Logistic in the beginning. Yeah. Then I get to understand the company bit more, और मुझे पता चला कि कंपनी भले लॉजिस्टिक की है, बट यहाँ पे पूरा बिजनेस है, इट इज अबाउट द मूवमेंट ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट स्पेसिफिक कार्गो अक्रॉस द ओशन। तो अगर L&T कोई ऑर्डर जीतती है अफ्रीका में, तो उसको अफ्रीका में उसको क्रेन और उसके अलग अलग इंस्ट्रूमेंट खरीदने की बजाय वो यहाँ से शिप कर देगी, देन दे विल कॉन्टेक्ट अ कंपनी लाइक एसजे लॉजिस्टिक। या L&T इज जस्ट एन एग्जाम्पल। तो यहाँ पे देर इज अ डेफिनेटली अ नीश, ओके, देर इज अ मोड हियर फॉर अ कंपनी लाइक एसजे लॉजिस्टिक। तो फिर मैंने लिया, आई गॉट अ वेरी डिसेंट रिटर्न्स इन एसजे लॉजिस्टिक एज वेल। So there are always this exception to the rules, which you have to be flexible enough to understand, intercept, and take action on it. Yeah. A company like let's say I wouldn't name that company, but pharma company I think काफी लोगों ने ignore कर दिया। That company has now trading at around 5,000 6,000 rupees के price पे चल रही है, already given 4x returns. So sometimes you have to take, you have to evaluate what went wrong in your investing process, and you adjust your process. Some of the sectors which I love defense sector. Okay, I love manufacturing, solar, both solar EPC as well as solar module assembly. मुझे आईटी पसंद है, मुझे इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजी जैसे ड्रोन हो गया मुझे काफी पसंद है, रिसाइकलिंग स्पेस आई रियली लाइक। सो दिस आर द आईपीओस वेयर आई पे मोर अटेंशन, दिस आर द आईपीओस, दिस आर द लिस्टेड कंपनीज व्हिच आई टेंड टू लुक ओवर एंड ओवर कि हाँ भाई क्या हुआ, कैसा है वॉल्यूम आज का, इज इट एट अ एंट्री लेवल और नॉट, एंड देन आई टेक एंट्री इनटू देम एट अ लेटर स्टेज इफ आई डोंट able to buy them or get allotment in those. So find out the sector which you are interested in. For an example, VFX sector काफी मुझे अच्छा लगा है, तो मैंने तीनों में इन्वेस्ट किया था। I made amazing return in all the three companies. So please look and figure out कि हाँ आपको किस तरह से क्या पसंद आ रहा है, कहाँ पे अंडरस्टैंडिंग आपकी ज्यादा है. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट हो जाता है कि भाई आप आरएचपी पढ़ोगे तो आप में उसको समझ में आ जाएगा कि कौन से इन्वेस्टर्स हैं जो मार्की इन्वेस्टर्स हैं हु डज अ फैंटास्टिक जॉब इन ड्यू डिलिजेंस एंड आइडेंटिफाइंग द कंपनीज हु आर द राकेश झुनझुनवाला ऑफ एसएमई. तो आप वो देखोगे आपको समझ में आ जाएगा हु आर द एंकर इन्वेस्टर्स दैट यू शुड लुक एट. तो एंकर इन्वेस्टर विच आई रियली लाइक नैव कैपिटल हो गया, निजन है, इंडिया हेड है, 1955 वेंचर फंड है, बेंगल फाइनेंस है. These are the companies where some of the prominent SME investor invest in. Keep an eye on it कि वहाँ पे वो एंकर में दिख रहे हैं तो आपको definitely there will be these are not the guys who gonna get out in 30 days 90 days. These are the people who gonna stay little longer than that, yeah, because यहाँ पे अगर देखिए कि some of this investor have they also invest in pre-IPO. Obviously there is a lock in there, so uh, maybe they have more information about it. So there are this kind of things that one needs to look at when you are reading the RHP, when you are reading the anchor allotment letters, you will be able to figure out. Yeah. Some of the anchors are notorious क्योंकि वो या QIBs are notorious in dumping the mal, dumping the whatever allotments they have on the next 3-4 days in listing. So be a little bit aware what is happening there, why is it happening there. थोड़ा आप सोचिए, थोड़ा notes बनाइए, just follow it up on with the data and you'll try to understand what is happening there. Yeah. नेक्स्ट होता है कि भाई आईपीओ प्रोसीड्स, आपको ये ऑब्जेक्ट्स टू द इश्यू में समझ में आएगा. सो आईपीओ प्रोसीड्स में कंपनी क्यों आईपीओ ला रही है, या बिकॉज many of the cases promoter has using the IPO to repay the unsecured loans. या ये unsecured loan क्या होता है, अपने फैमिली से या ऐसे है आप वो मतलब वो आईपीओ से हमारे पैसे से वो खुद के पैसे रिटर्न कर रहे हैं, तो वहां पे थोड़ा सा एक रेड फ्लैग हो जाता है. या फिर प्रमोटर खुद का घर खरीद रहे हैं या फिर गाड़ियां खरीद रहे हैं फॉर आईपीओ मनी, वो थोड़ा रेड फ्लैग शुरू हो जाता है. सम ऑफ द एग्जांपल्स, सो ग्राफिक्स एड्स में ऐसा था दैट कंपनी इज पेइंग द डेट्स which they took to buy the cars or something from SBI और HDFC या कोई बैंक से. तो यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा आपको थोड़ा सा सावधान रहना है कि भाई ऐसा हो रहा है तो हम थोड़ा साइड में रहते हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे एक क्वेश्चन आपके दिमाग में आता है कि भाई ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हैं प्रमोटर, व्हाई नॉट पुट द मनी इनटू द बिजनेस and grow the business with this money rather than do this kind of thing. Yeah. So please look at the IPO process. Keep a focus on the companies which are using the proceeds to set up new manufacturing line or to buy a subsidiary or buy some unlisted company जहाँ पे acquisition हो रहा है. तो यहाँ पे कुछ ना कुछ तो के दिमाग में है, वो क्या है, try to understand that, keep that in your mind, in your watch list. और जहाँ पे आपको टेक्निकली यहाँ पे लग रहा है कि हाँ दिस इज अ गुड कंपनी टू इन्वेस्ट इन नाउ बेस्ड ऑन टेक्निकल, वहाँ पे इन्वेस्टमेंट थोड़ा कर लीजिए. So that can give you a very decent result. Yeah. The next point it comes with respect to the valuation of the IPO. Now this is a very very difficult game, and I'm also done a lot of big mistakes here. Many of my fellow, let's say, SME investor here, which I can see Rajendra Bhai, I can see Krishna, I can see Dr. Karpur ji, Sandeep. All of this will agree that this is the most difficult aspect. Ki valuation, what is the right valuation of a SME company? I'll give you some examples. Just say Wifin I found very expensive at around 90 PE or something. I ignored it at 90 rupees, 89 rupees, something like that. And the stock went on to become 400 rupees odd in few months. Yeah. Sealmatic को मुझे 38 39 के पी पे थोड़ा एक्सेल लग रहा था, मैंने कहा थोड़ा नीचे जाएगा तो, but then the stock went up. So I missed out on this kind of company just because of the valuation. Yeah. On the similar lines, I have actually gained, on companies like Drone Destination or Rocking Deals, where the stock listed at a much higher valuation. But even though I had a much better understanding of the sector and the company, I took a bet and I got more than 100% return on those stock as well, where the valuation was sky high. Yeah? So this is not something which is I can easily distill in few sentences, but obviously जितना कम वैल्यूएशन है आपका मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी बढ़ जाता है. So please keep an eye on the valuation of the company along with respect to its peers. Yeah, आप अगर लेट्स से सिस्टैंगो को अगर इन्फोसिस से कंपेयर करोगे दैट्स नॉट अ राइट कंपैरिजन. आपको सिस्टैंगो को ऑलीटेक से कंपेयर करना है या फिर कोई दूसरी कंपनी से कंपेयर करना है विच इज इट्स अ ट्रू पेयर. या ओके नाउ सो गिविंग यू सम स्टैटिस्टिक एज वेल. तो अगर मैं 2022 की बात करता हूँ तो उसमें 21 पीओ आए थे जिसमें पी वाज मोर देन 40. Only 16 listed, sorry, 16 listed in positive here. Yep. So even with a high valuation, you know, quite a lot of company listed in a positive because of some reason कि यहाँ पे कोई sectoral tailwind था या फिर business के में कुछ, you know, there were market investors who saw something. So even they bought it at a very high valuation, these companies. Yeah. The next is that as a retail investor, don't rely on whatever is written in the RHP. Do some scuttlebutt on the ground. अगर आपको सपोज कोई प्रोडक्ट दिख रही है जैसे अन्नपूर्णा स्वादिष्ट हो गया, इफ यू आर इन यू नो ईस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया यू विल सी दिस पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट इन यू नो रूरल एरिया. देखो आपको दिख रही है, कैसा फीडबैक है, रिटेलर से पूछो. इफ लेट्स से यू नो कंस्ट्रक्शन केमिकल कंपनी, आप आजू बाजू कोई हार्डवेयर का स्टोर है, वहां पे जाके चेक कीजिए वेदर दिस कंपनीज कंस्ट्रक्शन केमिकल्स आर बीइंग यूज्ड और नॉट. डू दैट काइंड ऑफ अ रिसर्च. आप थोड़ा ईपीएफओ पे यू कैन इजीली चेक की how many employees does the company have over the years, last 3 years, are the number of employees growing or not growing. Yeah. So अभी ट्विटर में एक बहुत बड़ी कॉन्फ्रेंस मतलब बहुत बड़ा
Chintan, can
सॉरी सो अभी ट्विटर में ये केडीएल के
Chintan, can you please, Chintan, hi,
यप
Chintan, am I audible?
यस यू आर
Your voice is breaking from last 30, 40 seconds. So can you please check your connection?
यार I'm sitting at only one place so I don't know why that is happening. Let me know if it is getting better, otherwise I can rejoin. Yeah.
Um, it was good previously, but from okay. Okay, you try speaking. I think it would be fine going forward. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Maybe can you make some of these guys as a speaker so maybe they can also give a feedback ki.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So I can see Mr. Kanpuria and some furthermore as a speaker. Do you guys also see my voice not coming clearly?
No, I can
No,
hear
your
you.
voice is clear.
I can.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I was talking about you know, doing a little bit of scuttlebutt on your own. So आप EPFO में जाके देख सकते हैं if number of employees are growing year on year, month on month, तो आपको आइडिया आएगा कि हाँ भाई कंपनी ग्रो कर रही है. दिस इज वेरी मच एविडेंट इन अ सर्विस कंपनी की भाई आपने बेसिलिक्स फ्लाई का देख लिया या फैंटम का देख लिया तो आपको समझ में आएगा ऑन द ग्राउंड. अगर नंबर ऑफ हेड्स इंक्रीजेस दैट मीन्स द कंपनी इज डूइंग आर गोना पोस्ट अ हायर रेवेन्यू, क्योंकि आप पता है कि दिस इज द रेवेन्यू इज डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड टू द नंबर ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज द कंपनी हैज. या आप कंपनी के लिंक्डइन पेज पे जाके देखिए या फिर पॉपुलर जॉब पोर्टल साइट पे देखिए कंपनी का कि आपको दिख रहा है वहाँ पे कौन सी प्रोफाइल वो हायर कर रहे हैं भाई, कि दे आर हायरिंग सेक्रेटरीज और आर दे हायरिंग सेल्स एंड बिजनेस डेवलपमेंट गाइज. सो दैट कैन ऑल्सो गिव यू सम आइडिया कि हाँ भाई देयर इज अ ग्रोथ, द कंपनी इज लुकिंग फॉर ग्रोथ एंड करंटली इन अ ग्रोथ ट्रेजेक्टरी. You can look at promoters LinkedIn profile. You can check promoter का ये what are the other companies promoter is invested in, who are the other directors in the listed companies. वो जावा कॉर्प या कंपनी चेक में आप डालिए कंपनी का नाम या प्रमोटर का नाम and you can figure out who you know कि हाँ यहाँ पे does this business require some kind of you know high net worth criteria या फिर political connection, does the company has that. So मैं अभी हाँ KDL का बोल रहा था. So for an example somebody did a search of KDL कि यहाँ पे कंपनी के 3-4 एम्प्लॉई है बट आई थिंक द पर्सन डिड नॉट अंडरस्टैंड द बिजनेस वेयर KDL is actually into more of a approval business of the project. Yeah, and then they outsource most of the actual digging work to a third party. Obviously वो third party का employees जो रहेंगे वो कंपनी के पेरोल्स पे नहीं रहेंगे. So you need to also do a little bit of scuttlebutt, you know, try to understand the sector. Don't just declare that okay, this is not, I mean, यहाँ पे जो दिख रहा है why it is like that. Yeah. So we need to also understand and try to correlate the numbers to the business key. What is the business here? Yeah. By the way, I'm not holding KDL. I did got a decent return and I booked too early. I'm not promoting KDL. I'm just explaining ki even though employees are less, there is a reason behind it. Yeah. So try to understand the business. Try to correlate the numbers you are seeing and try to learn from the mistakes. Yeah. Um, then another red flag could be that many of the times promoter has similar companies in the similar field, and there is always a possibility that promoter will divert some of the orders to the other company and not to the listed company. तो आपको थोड़ा रिलेटेड पार्टी ट्रांजैक्शन देखना पड़ेगा प्रमोटर का कि कैसे हो रहा है कि पता चला कि टॉप जो टू कस्टमर है कंपनी के या टू सप्लायर है कंपनी के दे आर द प्रमोटर ओन कंपनी इटसेल्फ तो यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है बिकॉज एज आइडियली the company is not able to realize the full revenue or the full margin because some of those money has been given to the let's say related party of the promoter. So that can also be a kind of a red flag that one needs to look at. Yeah. So, Prince, with that, I'm almost done. With my monologue on what I look for in a let's say SME IPO when I try to apply. And if you have any questions or otherwise, we can open the floor to the Q&A session. Yeah.
Thanks, Chintan, and it was really exhaustive and very pertinent clues, triggers pointed out by you, be it on the positive side and even the red flags you pointed out, and even the data shared on the SME IPOs listed last year, and the kind of the percentage which did well and which underperformed has also been highlighted, and be the aspect of liquidity or book built issue basis which the anchor and QIB allotments can be checked on. And also, you very pertinently mentioned that if there are low profit margins, then it should be avoided, or at least we should find out the exceptions to that. And yes, you were also talking about the certain LMs which the IPOs routed through them had done well. But again, there is no sort of endorsement of any name from Chintan, or for that matter from me. But again, he simply cited the data that what has happened with the listed IPOs and their performance. So, and even the past performance is no guarantee of future performance. But again, that should be one pointer wherein, like, when you are doing your due diligence, you should be looking at. And of course, when we talk about the SMEs, obviously the availability of information is comparatively less, or you have to work a lot more on your on self rather than relying on, because as Chintan was pointing out, there are many less reports, or rather none reports, and the institutions are not following those companies. So reading the RHP is indeed an important aspect, and especially pointed out that risk or the peers and these kind of things should always be understood. And most importantly, as Chintan was pointing out, the sector which you understand well, and if the company falls in that, so that could be an advantage in the sense you can understand well. So you should be like finding out that which sectors the company is into, so that, and obviously the IPO proceed needs at most you get a feel that but for the growth or the future growth of the company, or simply the promoters or the early key investors are simply selling their stake to the retailers or other. So, Chintan, one thing I would like to ask from you, like, obviously, see, when you do, you have a good circle, and obviously that is a great help in that sense. But for those who are beginning, it is a tedious task to identify about the companies, and even you also know that even we have to look for the taxation or the numbers which has been shown by the companies are actually we can correlate with that the GST numbers and all. So this is indeed a tedious task. So do you believe that that is not possible for the early SME investors or retailers who do not have these kind of edge with the good circles network or that kind of thing, and when they lose money owing to lack of these resources, they blame SME segment that यहाँ speculation ज़्यादा है और pump dump ज़्यादा है kind of thing.
So, Prince, see, basically, if you see, I'm not that well connected as well. Yeah, if you see my tweets 2 years ago on the company, so I did posted a very detailed research on a lot of these companies simply based on the RHPs. Yeah, and that gave me a lot of information which was not available to me. What happens usually is that we rely on Twitter, we rely on WhatsApp, on somebody else's research to base our trades, and but we'll be able to copy the trades, but we'll not be able to get the conviction that one needs to either stay invested in an adverse condition, or either stay invested when you attain a certain profit. Yeah. तो मतलब काफी लोग मुझे पूछते हैं सर टारगेट क्या है, तो आई नेवर गिव अ टारगेट टू एनीबॉडी, बिकॉज आई सेड यार मुझे ही नहीं पता है कि टारगेट। अभी मैं गार्गी का अगर मैं बोलता भाई मैं 20% का टारगेट में माइंड में सेट करके रखता, आई विल नॉट बी सिटिंग ऑन 8x रिटर्न ऑन गार्गी या दैट ऑन 1 ईयर। सो यहाँ पे यू नीड टू हैव दैट रिसर्च, योर ओन रिसर्च आप करो, आप RHP पढ़ो, यू build that conviction. Yeah, and this is not going to happen quickly. You won't be able to get access to LM or the promoter just like that. तो आप जितना पढ़ सकते आप पढ़ो, मेहनत करो. I used to spend like 3 hours, 4 hours to prepare this kind of IPO summaries, yeah, earlier. But now with a lot of other things which are coming up, I'm not be able to provide very detailed notes. But it is still possible. Yeah, I was let's say I was not connected earlier. I remember I got connected to many of the LMs after I reached a certain stage. Yeah, uh, so even before that, I used to get a decent picks, and I think it is possible if you do a research. There are very few good handles who are not in many of the known circles, but they are generating a decent research and sharing with everybody on Twitter. Yeah, तो आप देखो, आप पढ़ो थोड़ा, create the asset, and you can do it. Yeah.
Right. So we got कानपुरिया जी to ask questions, so you can unmute और आप अपना सवाल पूछ सकते हैं.
Chintan bhai, just wanted to know, like, say in RHP, you can find out if there is any related party transaction. In future, like, I am new to SME to be honest. So in future, like annual reports, are they exhaustive enough to like identify related party transactions?
See, uh, annual report में sometimes not possible, because problem क्या होता है कि जब तक annual report,
Yes, Mr.
so RHP में आपको डेफिनेटली मिलेगा, बट एनुअल रिपोर्ट में
Chintan.
क्या होता है कि जब
Go ahead.
आपके पास ये डिटेल रिपोर्ट आता है एनुअल रिपोर्ट, उसके पहले ही पूरा जो मूवमेंट होनी है वो हो जाती है यूजुअली। या सो आई वुड सजेस्ट आप पहले पहले देख लीजिए, तो
Okay.
टू गेट अ सेंस ऑफ व्हाट द कंपनी हैज डन इन लास्ट 3 years या और लास्ट 2 years विथ रिलेटेड पार्टी, क्योंकि दिस द साइकिल और द ऑफ हैबिट इज नॉट इजी टू ब्रेक। या
Okay. Okay. Got it. And just wanted to like thank you. You have shared a lot of great information. And if you have prepared any presentation on it, like the way you are speaking, like sequentially, lot of great points. If you can post on your Twitter handle, or someone can post on your that presentation too as well on your handle.
श्योर श्योर।
So that will be great. That will be great information for like keep revisiting those information so that if I am new, so if I like in a week or if I read 2 3 times those information, so that will be like permanent in my mind, and then when I like reading RHP, it will help again and next time and again.
श्योर।
So that will be great. Okay, thank you very much. I'm done.
Thank you, Kanpuria, and certainly we'll have a thought around that, and we can see if there is a possibility of a video session. So definitely we can try for that. Yeah. Furthermore, you can ask your question, please.
Yeah, so actually, I am in this business of basically interested into SME segment for last 2 3 years, and the reason for this I just want to share my thoughts firstly. So the reason for this is like I'm from Jaipur, and there is a company called Insolation Energy who is just 2 3 gully away from my house. So that person told me that I am going to actually he is known to me, and he told me that isolation and insolation energy is IPO which we are bringing. So matlab, we got interest.
कल वाला स्पेस अच्छा था for data security and
Hello.
data center.
Yeah, please go ahead.
ऐसे
I can listen.
close to
I'm able to hear you.
discuss.
I'm listening.
या सो जब मेरा उनसे मतलब उन्होंने मेरे को ये बताया था कि हाँ हम लेकर आ रहे हैं आईपीओ, बट एक्चुअली द आईपीओ गॉट लिस्टेड फ्यू टाइम्स हायर
Why we
एंड
are
आई
not talking about data center and
Who is
security?
speaking
How
in
much
between?
data center we will nowadays?
Uh, Prince,
Just make sure when one person is speaking, please do not interrupt that person because we get an echo when other person is speaking. Yeah.
yeah, so it was not from me. So those who are speaking, please, only one person keep asking the question, and your turn will come. Uh,
या सो am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, so the thing
Yes,
is
yes. So my question is why we are not talking about how much data center will be built in now
Who is that?
in
Who is
year
that?
end of 2023.
Furthermore, you can now unmute and ask your question, please.
yeah, so basically my point is let I think I need to come to the point directly. So the thing is I divide this SME segment into two parts. One is going through IPO mode, going through in the secondary market as a secondary thing. So it is quite very often that we are not going to get any IPO, but when we think that if any organization or any company is very good to invest, then we can invest after in the basically secondary market or after the IPO also. The only thing is what is in in my mind is like, for example, let's take an example of Sri Karni fabrication IPO which came really just few days back. हमको ये तो पता है कि उसका ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है, बट वेदर द कंपनी इज इन लाइन विद द ऑब्जेक्टिव. फॉर एग्जांपल दैट कंपनी स्टेटेड, एक्चुअली आई लिसन अ लॉट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट रिव्यूज फ्रॉम दैट कंपनी, एंड दैट कंपनी स्टेटेड दैट हमारा ये प्रोजेक्शन रहेगा, हम फॉरवर्ड बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेशन करेंगे और जो भी करेंगे, whether the company is in line with those objectives. Because जब तक हमारे को information आएगी through the management reviews या फिर स्टॉक टम्बल डाउन या फिर स्टॉक में कोई रैली आती है, तब तक वो ऑलरेडी फैक्टर इन हो चुका होगा प्राइस के अंदर. तो इस चीज को हम कहाँ से हमारे को इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल पाए कि क्या वो जो उसने कमिट कराया है या जो जो उसने हमको बोला है वो उसी को ही कंप्लाई कर रहा है. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल प्रोसीड्स ऑफ द फ्रेश आईपीओ जो मिले हैं, बेसिकली वो उसको जो इन्वेस्ट जहां करना है वो सही जगह इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा, ये एसएमई सेगमेंट के अंदर जो कंपनीज है उसके बारे में हमको कैसे पता पड़े. दिस इज माय बेसिक पॉइंट.
sure. So see, basically, यहाँ पे see the issue is that time लगेगा, right? Because the way it happens, right? जो आपके पास आप जो information पढ़ रहे हैं आरएचपी में, वो 4 महीने पहले की है या 5 महीने पहले की है, right? So by the time the promoter will receive the fund, 1 महीने के बाद IPO होने के बाद, 15-20 days 30 days के बाद उनको पैसा उनके पास अकाउंट में आएगा, right? Then they will start ordering. Let's say if they are setting up a new assembly line, they'll start ordering the equipments, setting up the whole thing. So the whole thing, it will take 1 year for those numbers to reflect in. Okay. तो आपको तब तक देखना है कि प्रमोटर आर दे अचीविंग द ग्रोथ, व्हाट इज द यूटिलाइजेशन लेवल ऑफ देयर कंपनी इन द. और यहाँ पे ये जो आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा ना, वो बहुत ही पेचीदा है, क्योंकि एसएमई में वो 6 month का डिस्क्लोजर होता है, राइट? इट्स नॉट अ क्वार्टरली. तो आपको, अगर आपका एक्सपोजर डिसेंट है एंड यू आर एबल टू अप्रोच द मैनेजमेंट, जस्ट आप पूछिए उनसे, बात कीजिए, जस्ट ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड देयर ऑर्डर बुक इफ दे कैन शेयर विथ यू. That will give you some idea. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for those disclosure to come in and then take a decision. And sometimes, that becomes little bit late because the people who have this information have already acted on that information. Yeah. तो उसमें आप क्या कीजिए कि देन यूज सम टेक्निकल पैरामीटर्स, कि भाई हमने आपने सपोज 21 में आपने बेंचमार्क रखा है फॉर एन एग्जांपल फॉर योर लॉन्ग टर्म प्रॉफिट बुकिंग, तो वहां पे आप थोड़ा एग्जिट ले लीजिए. आप यू कैन ऑलवेज बाय द स्टॉक लेटर ऑन, या यू वंस यू बुक योर प्रॉफिट. सी, वन वेरी very very important saying is that no one has gone broke while taking profit home. Yeah. तो अगर आप प्रॉफिट घर पे लेकर आएंगे, भले आपका गलत होगा डिसीजन, एटलीस्ट यू हैव एग्जिटेड विद प्रॉफिट. आप पकड़ के बैठ गए एंड यू आर द बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव द इंफॉर्मेशन एंड द स्टॉक हैज गॉन डाउन बिलो योर परचेज प्राइस, यू ऑफ मनी, एंड दैट्स वेयर दिस काइंड ऑफ रिग्रेट कम्स इन कि हाँ भाई ऐसे भी रिस्की है. So have your exit plan ready. Put your SL into the system. Wherever you don't have information, at least you will be saved by your stop loss order in the system. Or those who are using Zerodha, I'm not again promoting Zerodha here, but I use Zerodha, and I love the GTD feature which Zerodha has, because with that feature I can put more than 100 or close to 100 orders in the system, either on the buy or on the sell side, to add more, do a topping up on the let's say on the परचेजिंग साइड में ऊपर पे मैं पिरामिडिंग कर सकता हूँ, या फिर मैं एसएल लगा के रख सकता हूँ एट माय लेवल्स वेयर आई वांना गेट द प्रॉफिट होम. तो आप वो कीजिए, तो यू आर प्रोटेक्टेड इफ द फंडामेंटल इंफॉर्मेशन इज नॉट देयर. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन.
Right. So next in, okay, he got dropped. Let me approve the request. Sanjoy Saha. Yeah, Sanjoy, you can ask your question, please. I think, Chintan, there is some glitch. We had two more speakers. They got dropped. Let me see if there is any question in the comments. So,
Yeah, and we have some big, let's say, folks with a very decent experience of SME. So if you can make Sandeep sing as one of the speaker, we can also take stock-specific queries if somebody has. Yeah, I also saw Rajendra was there as one of the speaker. Dr. Karpur was also there.
so Chintan, what I did is like I sent you a co-host request. I cannot see the name you just pointed out. So
Okay.
once you are a co-host, then you can probably add those names and you can have them.
So, Sandeep, if I can request you to, send a request for speaker, and I will make you one of the speaker there. Yeah. Dr. Karpurji, Rajendra, if you are there, please also raise a request for speaker. Yeah.
So, Chintan, after this recent market correction and what's happening, people are fearful that we may see further correction owing to maybe some overvaluation or the kind of run we had experienced in last 3 4 years, barring some small corrections in the March last year or maybe October 21 में जो भी रहा था. तो what do you think, like going forward, SME space में कोई पेन आपको अलग से नजर आ रहा है, और it's like nothing has changed on that front?
Well, see, there was definitely a little bit of froth which was there, and we have seen many of the stock correcting by 30-35% or even more, yeah, in last 1 month, yeah. There is lot to do with not only the overvaluation but also to the fact with कि हाँ काफी लोगों ने स्टॉप टैक्स लॉस हार्वेस्टिंग कर दिया है, काफी लोगों ने प्रॉफिट बुक कर दिया है. somebody, well, let's say people had to pay advance tax, या और यहाँ पे ये लास्ट वाला इंस्टॉलमेंट था, तो यहाँ पे 100% आपको देना था. या द यूजुअली द एडवांस टैक्स द वे इट इज कि आप अप्रैल वाला जो Q1 का 15% देते हैं, फिर 45%, 75%, और मार्च में आपको 100% देना है आपका जितना है. तो पीपल नीडेड टू क्रिएट दैट लिक्विडिटी, और SME has already reached a particular level of froth. So we have seen a lot of correction which happened, yeah. And many of the savvy investors got out, before this happened. They booked the profit. So, even I'm currently at around 40% cash, yeah. So, and I got out I was at around 60% cash around 5th March or 6th March, something like that, yeah. तो मैंने जितना मेरा लॉस बुकिंग था वो कर दिया था, तो दैट हेल्प मी जनरेट दैट लिक्विडिटी वेयर आई कैन नाउ हंट फॉर अ decent company. The companies which are really attractive to me right now are the EPC company which has a huge order book. The companies which has a very clear labor arbitrage or a cost arbitrage, like VFX company हो गई for an example, okay, or the company with a very sound fundamentals are now available at a very recent valuation. Some of my long-term bets, so जैसे for an example Gargi हो गया, so I've added some lots of Gargi, I've added some lots of dental card. Uh, I'm already at around close to 400%, 500%, 600% in some of the stock, which I'm adding now, yeah, because I still see the growth which is yet to come in this company, and we are seeing that a lot of investors are picking up good companies at a reasonable valuation now. So I still see that at least for 15 days there are thoda sa ye डामाडोल रहेगा market, but the company with a decent fundamentals, decent growth trajectory should do well from here as well. Yeah, and we are seeing, if you see, the barometer of a froth in the system is कि नए IPO आना बंद हो जाएगा, which has not yet happened. Yeah, we have seen companies getting हाईली सब्सक्राइब, भले उनको लिस्टिंग गेन इतना नहीं मिल रहा है, दैट इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग, बट सब्सक्रिप्शन तो अभी भी उतना ही आ रहा है जितना पहले आता था. प्रॉब्ली पहले अगर 500x का सब्सक्रिप्शन आ रहा है तो अभी 400x का आ रहा है, बट 400% सब्सक्रिप्शन इज ऑल्सो a huge in SME now as well. Yep. So
Right, Chintan. So, Vardy sir, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, good evening. Most of successful marquee investor buy shares company with at least 10-15 years history. What is your opinion?
well, true. See, the thing is, there are, let's say, I will not name anybody, yeah, but if we need to also understand how the whole game is played, yeah. Let's say certain investor buy the company in pre-IPO, okay. Now, what will happen is that they will also buy that as one. Through their anchor entity, they will also enter through QIB, okay. So now they have a multiple, lock-in which is there. Key QIB mein there is no lock-in. They can easily, make some returns and exit on day 1 or day 5 or day 10, okay, or day 20. The stock which they have bought via anchor, they can sell 50% as an anchor and remaining 50% at 90 days. Yeah. तो उनका जो प्री आईपीओ का जो इन्वेस्टमेंट था उससे एटलीस्ट 3 or 4 times they've already made by trading the stock as well. Yeah. So might not see this because SHP are not that available easily. Yeah. They are not reported on a weekly basis. But if exchange ever decided to publish SHP every week, we'll be able to see and understand this in much more detail. Yeah. So you will see that yes, उनका जो initial pre-IPO investment है, they will held it for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. But it's not that they don't they don't take short-term exit from other positions which they have created in the company. Yeah.
So, actually, my question is all these companies have no history at all. They have not seen downturn, sectoral downturn. So, most of the marquee investor, they have a criteria कि company should be 10 years old. What is your opinion about that?
Sir, those kind of market investors will not come into SME, sir.
Right, right.
Because see,
That's what.
few of the company, see, there are few companies which were a proprietary concern, a year back, yeah.
Yeah,
एक साल में ही उन्होंने उसको पब्लिक लिमिटेड प्राइवेट लिमिटेड करके दे गॉट दैट कंपनी लिस्टेड, राइट. तो यहाँ पे हिस्ट्री नहीं,
right,
राइट, एंड दैट्स वेयर द इंफॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री इज मच हायर इन एसएमई. सो यहाँ पे
right,
investor आते हैं, दे डेफिनेटली हैव अ मोर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द promoters credibility, promoters capability, बिकॉज यहाँ पे आपके पास बहुत कम इंफॉर्मेशन है. सो आई एम टॉकिंग टू लेट्स से few companies. So one company which I'm talking to for pre-IPO is a 100-year-old company which is manufacturing seats. Yeah. दूसरी company है which is into gun manufacturing, which is a 30-year-old concern. Yeah. So there are these
right,
companies which are there. Yeah. तो आपको as a pre-IPO investor आपको वो कंपनियां ढूंढनी है. Yeah.
right.
एंड नेक्स्ट टाइम देर इज समथिंग. अगर आप सेक्टरल भी देखेंगे, जैसे अभी ड्रोन कंपनियों में तो आप 10 साल पुरानी क्या देखेंगे, सिर्फ एक आइडिया 4G पे. बाकी की जो कंपनियां वो
Uh,
20 साल पुरानी है, तो वहां पे देर इज नॉट
right.
सेक्टोरल हिस्ट्री इज देयर। या अगर आप एग्री ड्रोन कंपनियां देख लेते हैं, फॉर एन एग्जांपल नोवा एग्री अभी जो लिस्ट हुई है मेन बोर्ड में, राइट? सो that's where there is not much information that will go down 5 years. So you have to take some forward projection in your mind ki why Dronacharya, Drone Destination are trading at 100 P multiple, yeah, 50 P multiple. VFX company which were prime focus was there 2 years back, yeah. उसके बाद अभी तीन और कंपनी आ गई है और एक दो आने वाली है. So why these companies are coming at a much higher multiple? Because there is a future growth coming in because of certain reason. तो वो सेक्टरल भी आपको थोड़ा देखना पड़ेगा कि what is the reason behind that.
Right. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू सर। सो रजत, आप ही अनम्यूट करके अपना सवाल पूछ सकते हैं। और मीनवाइल आवर ऑडियंस, आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है, इफ यू आर लाइकिंग दिस सेशन तो श्योरली यू कैन कनेक्ट विद आवर गेस्ट, और आपको हमारी स्पेसेस अच्छी लगते हैं तो डेफिनेटली यू कैन कनेक्ट विद अस आल्सो। एंड आफ्टर दिस सेशन आई विल बी अपलोडिंग द conversation on YouTube channel Accidental Investor Prince, so definitely you can subscribe to that as well. Yeah, Rajat.
और सर मेरे को एमई ऑर्गेनिक्स के बारे में पूछना था, फंडामेंटल्स के बारे में, उसके आगे ग्रोथ जो ट्रिगर्स हैं।
Yeah, sir, any organic, I mean, I like the company, but I'm not following it very closely. Yeah. So if there are any other speakers like Rajendra Bhai, Prince, अगर आप follow कर रहे हैं, Sandeep, if you are following this and if you can shed some light on this.
भाई, ये अपना टीवी वाला वो शो नहीं है कि मैंने 38 रुपए में आरबीएनएल के 1000 शेयर ले रखे हैं, मैं क्या करूं, बाय करूं, सेल करूं। सो ऑब्वियसली, मतलब नॉट टू डिमीन योर क्वेश्चन इज अराउंड द बिजनेस, सो आई एम सॉरी, वी डू नॉट फॉलो दैट, बट अगेन आई अप्रिशिएट इफ द क्वेश्चंस आर अराउंड द थॉट प्रोसेस और सम सेक्टोरल टॉक्स और बिजनेस व्यूज रादर देन simply asking company names, because we are not SEBI registered, or we do not think ki naming a company or sharing some subtle view on the company can help you make money. Contrary to which, it might happen that you guys might misinterpret what we say and end up losing your money. So my suggestion would be to read reports of that company which are available in public domain, and definitely annual reports, con calls, investor presentation are good sources. And definitely Twitter is one place wherein some snippets of the positive and negatives about a company are also shared by individuals, but again the caveat is you have to take that with a pinch of salt, because you never know what we are sharing in public domain, what's the intention of the person saying that thing. So individual views can help as a starting point, but I do not think from investment point of view that can help. I hope
सर मेरा भी
I
क्वेश्चन है एक सर।
yes, okay.
सर रिन्यूएबल सेक्टर में अभी क्या अपॉर्चुनिटी है सर?
Sir, renewal sector में there is a huge tailwind to the sector itself. Yeah. अगर हम solar की बात करते हैं तो solar में there are so many companies which has come which has a fantastic order book. Yeah. अगर हम ओरियाना पावर का देखते हैं तो ओरियाना पावर इज नाउ dabbling into multiple renewable sectors. Hydrogen में भी there is some discussion which is happening. If you see the way the growth trajectory is happening on renewable, especially on the solar, is just phenomenal. Yeah, the returns which INA has given has been mind-boggling. Yeah, and I really curse myself ki why did I got out of that stock so early. I should have spent more time on the research. बट कोई भी अगर आप रिन्यूअल कंपनी देख लेते हैं, जैसे रुद्रा गैस हैज रिसेंटली गिवन अ वेरी गुड रिटर्न, लिखिता इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हैज गिवन अ वेरी गुड रिटर्न्स इन द पास्ट. या there are certain so I mean from a sectoral perspective it definitely has a much better tailwind. Simply reason is that Modi government wants to reduce our on petroleum and the subsidies and the foreign money outflow which is going in this sector, and the only way to do is through renewables. So we have seen Suzlon coming back from the brink of extinction to at least provide positive cash. So that itself show कि हाँ भाई wind में भी there is money to be made now. Yeah. which was not the case earlier. We have seen Suzlon losing money day and night, and now we are also seeing a turnaround in that company as well. So I'm high bullish on renewable. The only thing which I have a little bit of concern is कि EV जो space है वहां पे मुझे थोड़ा कंसर्न है कि अगर हाइड्रोजन आ गया आगे चल के इन नेक्स्ट 5 years, द पेनिट्रेशन एंड ईवी फोर व्हीलर हैज नॉट रीच अ काइंड ऑफ अ पेनिट्रेशन विच इज सपोज टू बेस्ड ऑन द स्पेस, सॉरी बेस्ड ऑन द रेंज एंग्जाइटी. तो अगर हाइड्रोजन आता है तो ईवी का क्या होगा, दैट्स द ओनली लॉन्ग टर्म questions I have. But at least for a few years, I don't see any issue on EV or EV sector related theme as well.
थैंक यू सर। आई वांट टू आस्क, सुजलोन एनर्जी का टर्न अराउंड में क्या की फैक्टर थे सर? इज रिपेइंग ऑफ डेट और एनीथिंग सर?
सर वो एक्चुअली आई एम नॉट होल्डिंग और मैंने रिसर्च नहीं किया है. आई हैव जस्ट सीन इट एंड आई मिस दैट पर्टिकुलर, सो आई वोंट बी एबल टू आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन.
Can
Thanks, sir.
question thing is any difference, much difference between offshore and onshore? Any physical, specific difference?
Sorry, onshore and offshore, what? The wind power generation?
Offshore wind and onshore wind. What is the major differences between that?
I wouldn't be able to answer it. You'll have to give me some time. If you can post this question to my Twitter handle, I will speak to some expert on this and get back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I will wait, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, SK, for your questions. So, Chintan, I guess most of the speakers had asked their questions, and you have very holistically covered the important pointers about the SME. And trust me, like many people who have attending this session have uh, like they can definitely change their approach to look at the SMEs, because there are only two perception. One is that it is a space wherein we can make good money, and contrary to which the different opinion is it's like a very risky space. So the kind of title we kept for today, Arya Par. So these subtle points which you had explained in great details has really helped us understand the space better. And before investing in SMEs, that much of effort is required by each and every individual, depending upon their capacity to grab things or maybe understand the things pertaining to different sectors in which they are looking at the companies. But that shouldn't be the case that every IPO, or for that matter every SME will make you money. So that perception should be changed in our minds. So that is one. So we got
Uh,
one. I think, yeah,
with-
speakers are dropping. Deep is there, Chintan. Yeah, Deep.
yeah,
Chintan, you were saying something?
yeah, and actually Sandeep also messaged me that he has a question, but he is not able to send a request, or you are not able to see his request. I don't know. There's some problem with the Twitter space.
I yes, there is people are dropping. So let's see. We have two speakers at hand. Meanwhile, Sandeep can DM me. I'll check my DM, or maybe he can comment and tag me so that I can have access to his question.
Yeah,
So
even
Sanjoy, you can
and
quickly.
even though I'm a co-host now, I'm not able to see any request. Yeah, I don't know what's the issue with the version I have.
There is some trouble. I still see you as a speaker. Not sure. I mean, Twitter is a different creature altogether. Anyways, let's take questions from these two speakers. Sanjoy, you can unmute and ask your question. Sanjoy, I can see you as a speaker. You can unmute. And okay, right now, Chintan, I can see you as a co-host.
Yeah, now
So Deep,
yeah, so
yeah, you go at Deep.
Yes, sir. Good evening. So, first of all, thank you so much for all the insights which you have shared. Am I audible?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yes. So my basic doubt was okay regarding one of the IPOs which had come recently, the Royal Sense IPO. So, as you might be really aware, right? It was, there was no hype around the IPO. Still, it got listed at, huge premiums. The thing is, when I had analyzed the IPO, I did not find, okay, anything, too much of an awe factor in that. But still, see, listing is a different thing. But still, what was the basis of, the subscribing to the IPO and all of the things, if it could share with us?
Sure, sure. So, see, one of the main reason about Royal Sense was the pre-IPO investors. Yeah, I've actually studied the pre-IPO investor in that company in very much detail. I'm actually also interacted with them in multiple forums as well. Yeah. So I know the research methodology of those pre-IPO investors, and I really admire the kind of company that they bring in. Yeah. They don't bring company just for the heck of it. Yeah. Uh, so,
Mhm.
and they were also not expecting this kind of a listing, to be very honest. Yeah. So that's why one of the pre-IPO investors sold because he felt the valuation was very high at the market cap that got listed. Yeah. At the same time, on the listing, also another very long-term investor bought a huge quantity. Yeah. And later on, I also came to know the investment deck of Royal Sense as well. Yeah. So basically, what I understood from the investment deck was that the company is planning to bring up a kind of a manufacturing related topic soon. And by the way, I've already booked my Royal Sense allotment. Yeah, I'm in a profit and a decent profit. So I will try to add it once it comes in a comfort zone for me. Yeah. But main reason was this, yeah. And I did not answer the many of the people in the chat in the Twitter earlier. Why? Because I wanted to let the company play out. It's whatever its LCs or whatever it was going for. Yeah, and that's was I was a little quiet on this. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Fine. Thank you so much. Understood.
Hey, Chintan.
Hey,
Hey, Prince.
yes,
First of
Sandeep.
all, many thanks, Prince, for actually doing that specific disclosure that maybe stock discussing a stock in general is a okay idea in a smaller circle, but not in a very wider forum. Purely because a lot of statements can be misunderstood, conflict of interest cannot be adequately disclosed, etc. So, Chintan, thanks for very detailed thing. If you allow, I'll probably add few things, especially on the why suddenly there is so much of a profit jump and how to do day one valuation of some of these IPOs, right? So few things which I understood, I may spend last 3 4 years in this space is one, as you rightly pointed, a lot of these companies are actually coming. Uh, these are like early growth stage companies, right? So we should probably think of it as VCP space. The only difference is in VCP, usually VCs are looking for Mercure promoter profiles, tier one colleges, and tech plays, non-linear plays, where if things work, it becomes 1:100 times. If things don't work, it's fine. On the contrary, most of the SME companies are self-sustained companies. So they were surviving without any equity capital. In fact, most of them were surviving without any banking relationship also, because बैंक भी उनको नहीं लोन देता है इतने आसानी से. LAP दिया, कुछ hard assets पे दे दिया, थोड़ा बहुत अलग है. So they don't have any adequate capital resources. In spite of that, they are able to sustain, grow, purely because promoters are gritty. They are handling segments which big tier one companies don't want to handle. Small towns, small segments of supply chain, etc., etc. Now, what happens is when IPO comes, proprietorships get companies get converted into private limited, then public limited, etc. Then second thing happens is, as you know, that as an unlisted companies, you have no economic incentives to show profit. Let's not get into legalities of it. I mean, someone like Jirotha has no incentive to show a lot of profit, so that's why they take thousands of crores of salary. So promoter salary is a very valid reason of why profit margins are very low. There can be other ways also to handle tax part of it. So in a sense, most of the promoters have no incentives to show their true profits. But the moment they turn into that journey towards listed company, good advisors, LMs, etc., they tell them that unless you show your true profit, there's no valuation, right? So that is one reason. Not to say a lot of bad things cannot happen. In fact, I have a very strong feedback from the ground that regulators are now, right now, as we speak, focusing a lot on the companies which showed dramatic change in their margin profile in run up to IPO. So in last 2 years, in fact, you would see there were companies which were showing losses and suddenly 20%, and the next year 40%, and then they came into the IPOs. And a lot of investors are not even asking questions like how can you suddenly become from 0 to 20 to 40 kind of a margin profile. So regulators themselves are asking those questions more strictly in run up to, I'll say, at due diligence stage, at DRHP stage, etc. So there will always be rotten eggs, cooked up books, bad characters, but that shouldn't stop us from identifying right reasons. And what can be those right reasons? In fact, there are many companies, for example, Monopharma. I don't like the company. I don't, so when I'm taking name only for examples. Don't even think like I'm holding or suggesting any of these companies, or for that matter Vinces, which incidentally I'm holding. They did huge consolidation. So what also happens is a lot of these promoters are running 3 companies, 4 companies, 5 companies, but once they approach towards IPO, they start consolidating business because they want to show, do the valuations or the um, money part at the consolidated level, right? So if we simply see last 3 years numbers, will get very confused. यार 3 साल पहले 5 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू था, फिर अगले साल 25 हो गया, अगले साल 100 हो गया. How is it even possible in the world, right? So unless we go into bigger details, which sometimes are available in DRHP, unfortunately sometimes it is not very adequately explained. Sometimes companies are very well explaining, they are giving good pre-IPO interviews. If we hear them out, we'll probably understand. Many times those informations are not very publicly available, not because of bad intent. It's just like these are not CNBC covered widely popular names, so the research available is not high. I mean, think of a main board company. They can afford 1 CR on CNBC and give 15 minutes interviews, etc. But an SME company which is trying to raise 4 crores has no incentives to spend 25 lakhs on a 15-minute CNBC clip. So that's why people end up relying into these informal channels where a lot of dirt also gets into it. So one is consolidation, second is the structural change, third is the promoter remuneration, and fourth another which actually happens, the tailwind. So Chintan, as you were talking about, a lot of these companies start retiring their debt, right? So if you are a conservative good guy, what you will do? I was taking unsecured loan at a family level for 2 reasons, hopefully, right? One was कि यार मैं बैंक मेरे को 15% पे दे रहा है, तो मैं अपने एक रिच अंकल से ले लेता हूँ 11% पे, right? There is absolutely, this is bona fide reason for taking an unsecured loan from related party. But the moment I'm getting IPO money, I'll first retire it because I'll probably want to manage it at a less lever, and I don't have any intent to spend that kind of money very quickly. So just because I'm retiring my relative's loan, unsecured loan, in fact, as an investor, and everyone has a different way of looking at things. I personally don't like heavy related party transactions. In fact, there are a couple of companies I specifically rejected because I asked promoter, now you're getting 30-40 crores. Are you planning to retire this unsecured lending from your related parties? He said, I'll take 2 years. I said, okay, we'll talk after 2 years, right? Because first thing I want to check is, as a promoter, whether he realizes that he and his listed entities are two different entities, right? That's the first migration a promoter has to understand, right? So in commerce, we always say, right, why equity equity is uh, equity invested is like on the is equity given by promoter is basically a liability to company, right? Now that company, many times promoters themselves don't understand. They think कि मेरा ही पैसा है कंपनी में हो या यहाँ पे हो. But boss, as a listed company, that's a totally different thing. Then another thing which happens is, once you get 30-40 crores, and this is a very recent learning I had because I typically come from a macro main board experience kind of a guy who loves to do top down investing, not bottom up. I was struggling to appreciate financial structures. So I was always investing in IT companies which doesn't require any money to grow, right? So in fact, I just wrote a few days back more as a thought process for myself. Like I tried to divide these SME companies into. By the way, Chintan, sorry for this monologue, and Prince, I first should take probably your permission. I hope it is fine. It is too long.
Yeah, please go ahead. No issues. It's always good to have views around the topic, and we are loving it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So basically, I tried to categorize SME companies into 3, 4, 5 buckets. Like why some of these SME companies are growing, because a lot of people, especially junior people who were connected to me on WhatsApp, Twitter, family, friend circle, college, etc. They were asking, all this is fine, but then how is it possible that these small companies are growing so fast? I mean, what is exactly is happening? Shouldn't it be seen as some kind of a manipulation? And then I try to look into some of the companies which I track closely, where I have a higher degree of confidence, and I categorized: number one, the companies which doesn't require any capital to grow. They were positive cash flow companies before IPO, and they are still. In other words, they are only doing IPO listing for one, monetization for promoters, if not right now at some stage; two, for that brand building in front of customers and client employees, right? Because for IT companies, hiring is the biggest challenge, and that gets partially solved. Credibility in front of enterprise clients is another big challenge, which gets partially solved if you're a real estate company. So those two tailwinds start helping them, and that is the reason they are coming for IPO, not because they needed money, right? In fact, they are generating profits and they can start giving you dividend and buybacks. So the crux of those businesses is human capital, right? They don't need financial capital. So typically, any tech company, any VFX company, any services company, which if you give them 50 crores, max they can do is do some dumb hiring, some dumb office expansion, which actually can be detrimental. Then second, companies can be working capital related companies, which purely because some of these logistics companies, they take 3 to 6 months kind of projects, project cargo, this and that, depots, management, etc. Just because they have another 20, 30 crores, they can start tap some of those growths, which earlier they were saying no because they didn't have the capital. In fact, I will add some of these EPC companies also, because just because they have the capital, they can bid for the bigger projects. Earlier, they were not able to do it. Right. Third is the capex plays, which there is a, hypothetically, let's say, a small company in Raipur in a segment where there is a huge demand, but they can't meet because their capacity is full, right? And they can't do a 30 crore capex because that's not they have earned in last 3 years. But suddenly they got that kind of equity capital, they start doing capex, right? So there is a genuine growth driver on that. Fourth is the product play, which is actually very rare in SME. That's more of a VCP kind of a play. But there have been some companies, for example, NPST, right, where the growth purely came because there was that hockey stick. Just once the user base grows beyond a certain point, you obviously grow exponentially. But that's typically less of an SME play. But those kind of companies are there. And then the final one, which I can think of, is the B2G, right? Which incidentally is again a very new play in India last 1 year, 2 year. Historically, within India as well as globally, these companies were always seen as a negative play, because when governments change, these companies go for mostly for a toss, right? It happened in construction space in India in 2014. All those big names from Hyderabad, etc. Once the government changed, as in the party changed, those companies were uh, brought down to the floor. But now what is happening in India, there is, for right or wrong, again, not we are not here to judge. A huge part of market is simply believing on the political continuation. Again, not saying X party is good or Y is good. I'm just saying political continuation. Now, if that happens, any sector which is driven by B2G play, right? For example, defense, big orders, etc. Once that political instability is kind of assumed to be sorted, then you can take a 3 year 5 year view, because you don't have a terminal risk कि मैंने आज इन्वेस्ट किया, कल को महाराष्ट्र में गवर्नमेंट चेंज हो गई फॉर एग्जांपल, और इस बंदे को ऑर्डर ही नहीं मिला, तो 2 साल बाद का वैल्यूएशन की तो कोई वैल्यू ही नहीं है. सो अगर एक बार टर्मिनल रिस्क की थोड़ी सी तकलीफ खत्म हुई, आप 5 ईयर व्यू ले पा रहे हो, तो आप एज्यूम कर रहे हो कि 5 ईयर्स में वो कंपनी इतना प्रॉफिट कमा लेगी कि उसकी बैलेंस शीट और सस्टेनेबिलिटी के इश्यूज नहीं आएंगे. सो a lot of it requires very deep thinking. All I can say is people need to spend much more time. This is a very tough space. Only those who fundamentally loves to study businesses, balance sheet, investment, this is an interesting area. For rest of the people, it's an UCLC game, and it will always look very risky and speculative. So I think that is what I wanted to add, Chintan, since we were talking about IPO valuation of some of these SME companies.
And also one of the example, the platform business is Robo, yeah, or MacForce, yeah, which has done fantastically well, yeah. Once the platform was there, it was all about managing the inventory, and they are doing exceptionally well there, yeah. So yeah, another company is SKP for an example, yeah. So किसी ने IPO proceeds के बारे में पूछा था कि भाई तो ये कंपनी ने they have added, I don't know, like 10 or 14 new assembly line, mainly automatic assembly lines for rolling out the new roller balls and the roller pins and the bearings, yeah. तो definitely there are good promoters out there. आपको थोड़ा research करना है, पता करना है. Any other questions? Jain Saab, Shivaraj, you pinged me, so feel free to ask questions.
Um, in fact, Chintan and Prince, both of you have been fairly generous in inviting other speakers. Also, I can see Rajesh ji also. If you can, if Prince, you have the time. I don't know whether you had the cutoff. If you can take Rajesh Singla ji also on speaker, because some of these people are spending so much of time, and it is their moral duty to speak. Right? They can't be afraid of. Staying back saying कि मैं ट्विटर पे बोलूंगा तो कल को लोग बोलेंगे कि आपने ये बोला. So let's not even discuss stock. More of a learning why someone of a Rajesh Singla stature who comes from a very good corporate background feels remaining invested in SME.
Yeah, I
So
will.
I'm interested in that rather than.
The
So,
Sorry.
request. So Rajesh, if you are free, please accept the request, or maybe if you haven't received, you can certainly send it from your end. Would love to hear you out.
uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
can
meantime,
see
Chintan,
you.
please go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So, question from Jain Saab, Dr. Jimmy or Shivaraj, feel free to ask Deep Sheth. Yeah, and anyone can
So
ask.
Chintan,
Right.
we are joined by Rajesh. Can we once check with him? Are we
So,
audible, Rajesh?
Yes, sir. Audible.
uh,
Great. So Chintan, we can do one thing like quickly we can go to Rajesh ji, hear him out, and then we can take questions from Jimmy, Shiva, and Jan, or the other way around, whichever way you suggest. We can do that.
because I could not see whether Rajesh Bhai was able to accept the request. I can see him now as a speaker.
No, he's here. He's here. Over to you, Rajesh ji.
Oh, no. I think already Sandeep ji has given a very detailed and good in-depth analysis and about his thinking, like how to look at SMEs. I think SME segment is quite, I think we can say, like there is so many new businesses, so many companies out there
Uh, Rajesh is breaking a little
who
bit.
want to
Or
underline it. And yeah, is fine now? It's fine now?
yeah, it improved.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, so I was saying, so this is so SME segment might be people might have seen that SME segment. If you look at the index, overall index, it has already appreciated by 25-30x in the last few years. But I think it's still just the beginning of the SME world in India, specifically when we talk about that this. So I think the SME segment is the one which is going to benefit the most among all the market segment, be it large cap or mid cap or even small cap. So we just need to find out the good high quality management and stick with them. Because there is many times we do find that there is a urge to move away from one SME stock to other SME stock, because sometimes after running up say 2 3 after becoming 2 3x, they might go into consolidation. But I think finding a very good quality management is a bit in this. I think the people should spend more time on validating the management quality in SME segment. I think that is the topmost priority for anyone who is looking to invest in SME segment. Because if the promoter is strong and good and high quality, then the segment is already it's very small, and the base effect is also very small for them. And the opportunity size is very big, given the way the Indian government is having plans to grow India in the next 5, 10, or 12, or 15, 20 years. So with a great management, I think we should stick with them and try to focus more on the management quality and the business outlook as well. So a good management can create many opportunity in such kind of market environment. So it just any I think it will be a bad management who cannot encash on these kind of opportunities, the kind of market environment what we have. So I think my focus usually is on the management quality, and which we should think deeply instead of jumping from one SME to another SME for 20-30% return. You don't invest in SME for 20-30% return, right? So SME, you invest in SME for a long term and for multi-bagger return, not for just 30-40-60% in 1 month or 2 months time. So find out the companies, find out the management quality, do more research instead of looking at what other people are buying. So because the own conviction is also one thing which people should also think about it, because investing on other people conviction without doing your own homework can become disastrous for your own portfolio. So whenever you are getting an idea from other people is good. So that's definitely not a problem, but do your own research. speak with the management, try to kind of the management is what kind of track record they have, and what was their history and how they have grown in the past, what will push their business to next level. So I think that is the one thing which people should invest more time in, researching more about the companies, their management, and even maybe I think people should also visit these companies, because given the way the platform we have, the social media platform, you can find so many people from across India who have easy access to those locations or those plants. So it's better to visit and share their knowledge as well in the open forum, or in the social media as well. So I think my only take for SME is that it's just the beginning. So even if the index has grown up 25-30x from stick, just focus on the management quality and decently scalable businesses. So I think they will be definitely the multi-bagger in the coming decades.
And now, see, what we are seeing is that on Twitter as well, there are a lot of good handles who are publishing a lot of their own research. Yeah? So try to find that information. आप tag करो company का नाम as a hashtag डाल के आप search करो. You'll be able to find a lot of information out there. Yeah. आपको खुद मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. Yeah. For an example, the sector that you understand very well, try to develop your niche in that. We have Amaya also in the call now. So Amaya, I mean, अगर
Not
IT का
not
business
only am
है,
I, even Amit ji, both of them, if they can speak. I think given the all the negative news flow of SME in last 2-3 weeks, without talking about the stocks, just about SME investing thought process in general, that will be quite helpful for people who are listening.
नहीं
I
मैं
mean,
तो कहता हूँ संदीप भाई रहने दो ना, गिरने दो थोड़ा, अच्छा है ना.
नहीं
वो
नहीं,
लोग
अरे वो
वो उठाएंगे
या
हमारे अच्छे से,
चिंतन वो सब पे बाद में जाते हैं. गिरने दो आपके लिए बहुत अच्छा है, बट a lot of people get scared. I mean, think of India also, right? Forget about you and me, right? See, people should learn, and गिरने में कोई problem नहीं है. No, so again, I'm not saying that. See, market में किसी ने मुझे बहुत अच्छी एक आज learning remind कराई कि 11 महीने तेजी के, 1 महीने मंदी के. That's how market works, right? So momentum investing really works in a rearing bull market जैसा भी हुआ था पिछले 6 महीने में. But that won't work in a sideways market. People will just disappear, thinking कि यहाँ पे सब manipulation होता है, मैंने 100 में लिया 30 पे, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, in every market segment there will be disasters like that. But then point is, इस स्पेस में कोई आया है तो आपसे एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा है, चिंतन या राजेश जी से एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा है, या प्रिंस से, कि आपकी क्या थॉट प्रोसेस है, आप क्यों बैठे हो. So we are trying to share that, not to say कि SME में खरीदो या रुक जाओ या वेट करो, अच्छा है बुरा है. That's not even the point, right? Let individual decide what they want to think about it, but at least we are here to share our thought process. Because people were asking, see, your regulator coming on record saying that a segment is getting manipulated, and that's a very broad based kind of a statement, right? Still, if some of us are staying invested, then there may be some logic to into it, and that's the whole intent of sharing here, not to say this stock is good or one should hold or one should put more money in this segment, etc. That's for individual to decide as per risk appetite. Anyway, I'll go on listener mode. I hope someone like Amit ji and Amaya can
I
also add.
think
yeah, Amaya is so there. Hey,
I remember yeah, hi Rajesh here. So just wanted to share one more thing. I think I remember seeing one very good pictorial I think picture. I think one picture which where I think one giraffe was standing in a river, saying it's not deep, that deep, guys, come inside. So that was quite interesting to see. So every person has their own risk appetite. Every person have their own portfolio allocation depending upon their own personal circumstances. So the people who want to invest in SME, they should assess their own risk profile first of all, because SME could be very highly volatile, as Sandeep ji was saying, that it could be driven by operators, because no doubt the market always have some kind of operator. There will always be some fraud. There will always be many frauds going on. Frauds are not new to the market. If you look at the history, you had Harshad Mehta, then you had Telgi, and there are so many frauds we have seen in the market in the last. When frauds are not new to the market, so nothing to scare about it. It's just about like how good hard work we are doing in identifying the good promoters. So there could be up and down days, so that is fine. That is a part and parcel of investing. But SM investing could be more volatile than the normal large cap. So even large cap also these days behave like 10% fall can happen in any large cap any day. if you see so many stocks in the recent correction, or even September, October, we saw many stocks falling 10-15%, even the large cap segment. So it's a question of how much volatility you can digest, how much allocation you want to put in the SME segment. So it's your personal capability to digest risk, to digest volatility. So that you have to assess yourself. No one can guide you that you should buy, because everyone have their own risk capability. Everyone have their own urgency of funds, or everyone have their own surplus of funds which they don't need in the near future. So you have to assess your own risk capability, and how long you can hold, what kind of in-depth research you can do. So that you have to assess on your own. People can guide you, but they are not, they don't have that much of detailed information, right, about your personal standing in terms of the financial wealth which you are carrying. So no one knows about you. No one knows, even from, even in the family also, you don't know about your brother, like where they are standing. So you have to assess your risk taking capability, and then think about because SME definitely have given a manifold return. They can be highly volatile as well. They can be highly demotivating as well in the near term. But from a longer term perspective, if you are holding good stock with a good management, scalable businesses, they are going to create generational wealth, in my personal view. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajesh ji. So, may clear some air on SME? What do you think? Like, you have been listening, although not the whole of this conversation, but again, broadly, you got the gist what we are discussing. So, any few points from you would be helpful.
यार ऑनेस्टली इतने महारथी हैं एसएमईज के यहाँ पे ऑलरेडी, तो उनके सामने मैंने बात क्या करनी है, ऐसा है ऑनेस्टली. सो I also look up to some or all of these guys, definitely. But वही है कि like I can't replicate someone else's investment style. So I just stick to methods and of course to domains which I understand. So जो अभी जैसे रिस्क एपेटाइट की बात कर रहे थे, तो रिस्क एपेटाइट एक्चुअली आपका वहां से भी आता है कि आप उस डोमेन को कितना समझते हो. और सिंस आप डोमेन को समझते हो तो इजी हो जाता है. प्रमोटर जो बोल रहा है वो फेंक रहा है या सच में उसमें कितना, हाउ मच मीट इज देयर ऑन द बोन. You can actually assess these kind of things when you understand the domain, right? So मेरा सिर्फ यही मंत्र है, जो चीज समझ में आती है, जो डोमेन समझ में आता है, उस डोमेन में इन्वेस्ट करने का ट्राई करो. मेरा एसएमई का पोर्टफोलियो बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा नहीं है ऑनेस्टली. बाकी जितना बाकी सब लोगों का यहाँ पे है, तो बट इट्स जस्ट दैट आई लुक फॉर अ प्रमोटर. और मुझे अगर ऐसा लगता है कि प्रमोटर को फर्क नहीं पड़ता है प्राइस कहाँ जा रहा है, ही इज जस्ट फोकस्ड ऑन द बिजनेस एंड द डोमेन आई अंडरस्टैंड, तो फिर मतलब इट्स लाइक अ नो ब्रेनर इन दैट केस फॉर मी. तो थोड़ा बहुत अगर कब स्टॉक नीचे भी आ जाता है तो मेरा नींद नहीं उड़ाता है, पॉइंट वो है. तो द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट जो हमने कल भी बात किया प्रिंसेस, ये जो भी एसएमई है किसी भी चीज में, किसी भी प्रमोटर के का बोला हुआ कोई भी चीज, वी कांट जस्ट बाय ऑन फेस वैल्यू, वी कांट ट्रस्ट. So the easiest way to and I also go and invest in the technology and IT companies because वहाँ पे कोई plant on देखना नहीं होता है. You can get on a Zoom call with a promoter and try and ask the questions, and you can ask like difficult questions जिसकी वजह से उन लोगों को सोचना पड़ सकता है. बाकी जो लोगों को डोमेन समझ में नहीं आता है वो इधर उधर की बातें करते हैं, राइट? तो मेरा तो उतना ही है यार. मतलब मेरा बहुत सर्कल ऑफ कॉम्पिटेंस एसएमई में बहुत छोटा है. आई स्टिक टू आईटी एंड टेक्नोलॉजी कंपनीज ओनली, और जो समझ में आता है वो लेता हूँ. एंड थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर नीचे अगर होता भी है तो फिर डोमेन समझ में आता है, तो फिर उस वजह से टेंशन नहीं होता है होल्ड करने में. रिस्क बेयरिंग कैपेसिटी जो होती है वो वहां से भी बन जाती है ऑफ कोर्स. बट अभी यहाँ पे चिंतन सर है, राजेश सर है, संदीप भाई है, इतने सब बड़े बड़े महारथी है, इनके सामने एसएमई के बारे में बात करना मतलब वो छोटा मुंह बड़ी बात वाली वाला वाला सीन है प्रिंस.
अरे नहीं नहीं हमें भाई.
Thanks, Amit. And
So we have Prince, we have some questions
it's
from
always
Jain
good
Saab.
to have a learning. Yeah. या उनके हाथ दुख रहे हैं यार, बहुत देर से उन्होंने खड़े कर रखे हैं. जैन साहब आपसे शुरू करते हैं, फिर जिमी एंड देन
प्रिंस
शिवा.
सॉरी, आपको जब
हेलो.
मौका मिले ना, अमित जी को भी अगर स्पीकर पे, आई एम नॉट श्योर वेदर ही इज इन अ पोजीशन टू टेक स्पीकर रिक्वेस्ट, बट इफ यू कैन ट्राई अमित अग्रवाल, he is also here. Hey, thanks Amaya. जो circle of competence बोला, that's how I operated most of the times. Only in last 6 months I digressed. So I'm also technology guy. In fact, लोग मुझसे पूछते थे कि टेक में ही क्यों रहते हो, तो मैं same question. I'm in USA. I don't need to be on ground to analyze an IT company. I can go to LinkedIn, I can go to their website, I can try to figure out what kind of technology projects. In fact, LinkedIन से 85% रिसर्च हो जाता है, लोगों को ये नहीं समझ आता क्योंकि आईटी कंपनीज में 99% एम्प्लॉइज लिंक्डइन में होंगे और उन प्रोफाइल को आप क्रॉस वेरीफाई करना चालू करो, आपको एक सेंस ऑफ कैपेबिलिटी समझ में आ जाएगी। और इंडिया में कम से कम 10 लाख लोग इंडियन आईटी में काम करते हैं, तो उनमें से कोई अगर एसमी इन्वेस्टर है, देयर इज अ गुड चांस कि उसमें से कुछ तो उनके फ्रेंड्स निकल आएंगे सेकंड लेवल पे, थर्ड लेवल पे, राइट? सो रिसर्च करना ऑन एन आईटी कंपनी आई ऑलवेज फाइंड इजी, बट आई अंडरस्टैंड फॉर ए नॉन आईटी गाय इट मे बी वेरी ट्रिकी, बिकॉज वो सोचते हैं कि सामने वाले ने जनरेटिव एआई बोल दिया तो अब तो ये एनवीडिया के बाद अगला ही, आई थिंक यू हैव बीन फाइटिंग दैट कॉज फॉर सो लॉन्ग, राइट? पीपल यूज अ लॉट ऑफ these marketing buzzwords and someone who is not from industry will start taking it on face value. So again, that circle of competence and domain expertise comfort is very important. Till like 6 months back, 80% of my portfolio was tech plus VFX. Only recently I started trying to, apart from also seeing people like Rajesh ji, etc., doing so well, expanding their capabilities, competence, going beyond comfort zone. But that's me at a very advanced stage, having already generated enough capital, taking additional risk. But for a new person or even someone who wants peace of mind over returns, that sticking to circle of competence is probably a much better idea. So thanks, Amay. I fully echo with that.
And यहाँ पे देखिए, see, there is always a difference of opinion when about a company's valuation. Yeah, I'll just give you a very good example between me and Rajesh भाई. Yeah, तो अभी मैंने कॉस्मिक सीआरएफ जब वो बॉटम हो गया था तब मैंने बाय करना शुरू किया था, ठीक है. आई मेड अ डिसेंट रिटर्न इन दैट, बट आई गॉट आउट वेरी अर्ली. उसके पहले राजेश भाई ने बीच में लिया, उन्होंने फिर बेच दिया बिकॉज उनको वो एक लीगल केस आ गया था कॉस्मिक सीआरएफ पे, तो उनको थोड़ा कंफर्ट नहीं आया था उस पे, सो ही एग्जिटेड. या then later on he had a discussion, he understood, he did more research, और उन्होंने फिर बाय किया और उस टाइम में मुझे कंफर्ट नहीं आ रहा था तो मैं निकल गया. So see, it's the same one company, but two different folks who are looking at this company and making two different, assumption and the action based on what they perceive as a value. Yeah, both are correct because as of now, I mean, I made some money. Rajesh bhai made a lot of money. So there is no right and wrong. It's about your conviction, your research, how you treat that particular event or that particular stock. आपको क्या दिख रहा है, and just go with your gut feeling and back yourself, but keep SL in the system. Don't forget that we are not here to prove ourselves right. Market में अगर गलत है तो accept करो, move on, find a new opportunity, or wait for that stock to bounce back. And if you are still interested, then you can enter it at a lower level as well if you like the company so much. Yeah, but take a exit, short term exit, मतलब अपना लॉस लिमिट कर लो, कैपिटल रहेगा तो आगे बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी. या जैन साहब, प्लीज गो अहेड विद योर क्वेश्चन. या
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आशीष है. पहले तो सबको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, बहुत अच्छा जानकारी दे रहे हैं हम लोगों को. सर, मेरा एक सवाल है. मेरे सवाल दो हैं. बीते मैंने 4-5 महीने में मैंने महसूस किया कि ट्विटर वर्ल्ड में, समाचारों में और न्यूज चैनलों में हम लोग दो भागों में बढ़ गए हैं, एक मेन इक्विटी और एक एसएमई. ठीक है. सरकार कह रही है कि हम एक नया फ्रेमवर्क बनाएंगे. तो मैं जब इन सब चीजों को सर जोड़ के देखता हूँ तो मुझे लगता है कि एक जबरदस्ती का एक माहौल बनाया जा रहा है एसएमई के अगेंस्ट. ठीक है. तो क्या आप लोग, क्योंकि इसके जानकार हैं और मुझे लगता है बेहतर तरीके से समझते हैं इस पूरे क्षेत्र को, एसएमई के खासकर, तो मेरा सवाल सर चिंतन सर से विशेष कर है, क्योंकि मैं उनको काफी टाइम से फॉलो कर रहा हूँ और मुझे लगता है कि वो मैं उनको समझता हूँ कि वो उन्होंने काफी वक्त पहले बता दिया था कि सेफ रहिए, कैश पे रहिए, वो ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण है आपके लिए. उसके तुरंत बाद इंडियन गवर्नमेंट के जो ऑफिशियल्स थे वो कह रहे थे हम एसएमई के लिए एक फ्रेमवर्क तैयार करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. तो क्या ये सब चीजें जो हो रही हैं ये खतरनाक हैं आने वाले वक्त के लिए, विशेषकर एसएमई के लिए?
नहीं, सो पहले दिस आर ऑल वेलकम मूवमेंट्स बाय द गवर्नमेंट. ओके, क्योंकि देखिए जिस तरह से द वे अवर रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क इज इम्प्रूविंग leaps and bounds. Yeah, we are seeing a lot of beautiful changes coming in, and whatever SME safeguard rails that are being put up, that is definitely going to help the market in the long term. Yeah, and Jain साहब, see, ऐसा नहीं है कि SME को टारगेट कर रहे. There are some truth in what has been mentioned. There are manipulation that has happened. Yeah, मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको लग रहा है कि 400% सब्सक्रिप्शन, 500% सब्सक्रिप्शन, 800% सब्सक्रिप्शन, दिस इज अ जोक, राइट? मतलब इतना पैसा सडनली एसएमई में कहाँ से आने लगा, राइट? जो अलोकेशन हो रहा है लास्ट मोमेंट पे, प्राइजेस आर गेटिंग, इट इज लिस्टिंग एट अ 90%, 100%। जो स्टॉक आपको 5 या 10 दिन तक आपको मिलेंगे ही नहीं, क्योंकि देर इज नॉट इनफ मार्केट मेकिंग पॉसिबल बिकॉज ऑफ ओनली 5% market maker stake. Yeah, many times QIB just exit in a day, all right. On the listing day itself, many QIB exist. So there are a lot of such, see, हर एक सिस्टम में कहीं ना कहीं कुछ कमियां रहती है, ओके? एंड आई थिंक दी SEBI is taking right up steps here, and they need to strengthen this, because as a retail investor, you need to have this kind of guardrails put up, because दो चीज है एसएमई मार्केट में, एक तो है लिक्विडिटी और दूसरा है इंफॉर्मेशन एसिमेट्री। ये दोनों को दे हैव टू क्रिएट इनफ गार्ड रेल्स कि ये जितना कम हो सके। या so many a times we are seeing that anchors में the persons behind the anchors are not always known, या कि कौन है भाई। there are companies, let's say spectrum talent की बात कर लेते हैं, with spectrum talent में I am also in loss in that company, okay? तो I mean, what was the reason to bring IPO at such a high valuation, or why company is not able to deliver? Yeah. So there has to be some, reason, or there are certain steps which government should take to bring in some form of regular, let's say, some regulatory framework to ensure that retailers are not getting trapped in certain IPOs. Yeah. Valuation, why certain companies are trading at a valuation, which is out there much higher than their peer, when their fundamentals are not even as strong as the peers. Yeah. So there are this kind of questions that should be asked, and I think whatever steps which are gonna take is gonna help retailer in the end. Yeah.
थैंक यू सर।
So
आपका
next
दूसरा
is
क्वेश्चन कोई था तो पूछ लीजिए, फिर वी कैन गो टू नेक्स्ट,
सर मेरा सर जो सेकंड जो सवाल था वो बस यही था कि मैं ये समझने की कोशिश कर रहा था सर कि मैं मतलब मैं काफी सेबी रजिस्टर्ड जो एडवाइजर होते हैं उनको जानता हूँ, ठीक है? वो मतलब वो मुझे लगता है वो सेबी की गाइडलाइंस होती है, इसके बावजूद वो खुल्लम खुला ट्विटर पे या फेसबुक पे खुल्लम खुला लिख रहे हैं कि 90 90% जो ये एसएमई कंपनीज हैं उनमें जो पैसा है वो शेल कंपनी के थ्रू बाहर से आता है, किसी गैंग का है, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा। कई टीवी एंकर्स के नाम भी आए। तो मैं जब हम सब चीजें हम सर मतलब हम तो मैं खुद की बात कर रहा हूँ, एक छोटा सा मैं निवेशक हूँ, ठीक है? 30-35 लाख का मैं पोर्टफोलियो रखता हूँ बस, ठीक है? तो जब ऐसी खबरें लगातार एकदम से आती है ना सर मार्च के महीने में, और ये मुझे लगता है सब टोटल, कभी भी लगता है ये कहीं प्लान तो नहीं है एकदम कि हाँ हम लोगों को निकाला जा रहा है एसएमई से और बैकडोर एंट्री हो जाएगी। तो मैं यही समझने की कोशिश कर रहा था आपके जरिए आपके स्पेस को सुनने की और समझने की कि क्या वाकई ये जो हमको दिखाया, समझाया और बताया जा रहा है वो हकीकत है भी या नहीं?
Sir, definitely there is some truth to it, right? We have seen one Dubai-based person has been named, is currently under investigation for the exact same
Yes, yes,
you
yes, yes.
mentioned, right? So definitely it is
जी
happening. Yeah, there is no one. I mean, you can see that it is happening because it is already out in the public domain. Yeah, what are the irregularities which has happened? So money, ill-gotten money has been routed via the foreign route, yeah, uh, or via some other route. Okay, there are dealings which can happen in cash in certain things, but इसीलिए तो गवर्नमेंट हैज टू come in and put some more guardrails here, yeah, कि मैनिपुलेशन नहीं हो। या एज अ रिटेलर
जी
हमें
जी
क्या देखना है कि भाई देखो, अगर मैन्युफैक्चर लग रहा है, प्रॉफिट बुक करके निकल लो। प्रॉब्लम इज दैट विद द रिटेलर वी आर इटर्नल ऑप्टिमिस्टिक कि भाई मैंने तो मतलब हर एक स्टॉक से मैं शादी करने वाला हूँ, किसी को मुझे डिवोर्स देना ही नहीं है, बट कंसीडर स्टॉक एज अ गर्लफ्रेंड रादर देन अ वाइफ यार। मतलब जीवन भर का साथ नहीं देना है, थोड़े से प्रॉफिट में खुश हो जाओ, निकल लो, दूसरा ढूंढो, बराबर ना?
ओके ओके,
So
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू सो
no
मच।
problem. Dr. Jimmy, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for for giving a good guidance to all the SME investors. Sir, I have actually two queries. सर मेरा पहला क्वेरी ये है कि आपने जैसे अभी रिसेंट एग्जांपल में आपको बोलूंगा कि आपने जैसे वीआर इंफ्रा में बोला कि देयर वाज अ वेरी गुड एक्यूमुलेशन ऑन डे वन। सो सर हम ये कैसे ट्रैक कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज वी हैव फुल टाइम कॉर्पोरेट जॉब, तो हम तो लाइव हम शायद ना ट्रैक कर पाए, और फिर अगर इतना हाई एक्यूमुलेशन हो तो शायद नेक्स्ट डे से अपर सर्किट पे अपर सर्किट लग जाए तो वी कांट इवन एंटर। So, sir, how should one track regarding this accumulation by the promoters or by any other big names on the day one? एंड सर सेकंड इज दैट कि आपने जो सिस्टम स्टॉप लॉस का बोला सर, तो कभी आई हैव ऑल्सो ट्राइड टू डू इन द जीरोधा, बट सर सब एक दो बार ऐसा हुआ है कि स्टॉप लॉस हिट होके उसके बाद स्टॉक अगेन गोज इनटू हायर हाई स्ट्रक्चर्स एंड रन अवे, देन इन दैट केस शुड वी री एंटर, should we reassess the valuation, or what should be done in such a cases? Thank you,
So
sir.
okay, so the first वाला जो क्वेश्चन था आपका बराबर कि sorry, if you can just remind me the first question. I got little interrupted.
Sir, it was regarding the
Okay,
accumulation
right, right.
on the
Okay, so
day
first of
one.
all, हाँ
Yes,
देखिए,
initial
so
day.
Amaya is also working with IT company, okay, full time, all right. Sandeep is also working with a banking company full time. Okay, I'm also working with an IT company full time. Yeah, यार टाइम मिल जाता है. इट्स अ हैबिट दैट यू नीड टू डेवलप कि आप रोज रात को 7 बजे बैठ के आप आपको जो 50 कंपनियां पसंद है उसके आप चार्ट देखोगे, उसका आप डिलीवरी पोजीशन देखोगे. Why can't you do that? You know, it's a habit that you need to develop. It's a trading psychology that you need to develop. Okay. That and you'll be able to spot that. आप देखो बल्क डील में दिख रहा है कि promoter group has bought this, this a huge quantity. All right. So मैंने भी अगर आप देखोगे VR इंफ्रा में आई डिड नॉट बाय एवरीथिंग ऑन वन सिंगल डे. आई डिड इट इन अ स्टेप बाय स्टेप मैनर. ओके, मैंने 4 या 5 दिन तक मैंने लगातार एक एक दो दो लॉट मैंने उठाए और टोटल मैंने 8-9 लॉट कुछ उठाए थे इसमें. So because I also wanted to reduce my risk by do a pyramid, upward pyramid of my buys here. Yeah, and it has given me a fantastic results because I was on the right side and the stock went into the direction which I wanted. So I kept increasing my allocation. Yeah? तो आप उस तरह से कीजिए, धीरे धीरे अपना पोजीशन बढ़ाइए. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको एस्केलेटर पकड़ के पहुंच जाना है. धीरे धीरे स्टेप बाय स्टेप आप सीढ़ियां चढ़ते जाइए. ओके, सेकंड क्वेश्चन इफ यू कैन स्टिल रिमाइंड मी.
सर रिगार्डिंग द सिस्टम स्टॉप लॉस कि
हाँ,
आपने जैसे
so,
बोला था कि हम सिस्टम स्टॉप लॉस
यार
रख के
इसमें रहेगा. देखो प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है कि ये स्टॉप लॉस में सी आई कीप इट व्हेन माय गेन्स आर लेस देन 10% इन अ स्टॉक. आई कीप दैट एंड आई कीप एवरी डे. मैं जाता हूँ जीटीटी में देखता हूँ वॉल्यूम देख के मैं एडजस्ट कर लेता हूँ मेरे स्टॉप लॉस. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि मैंने लगा दिया, मेरा एग्जीक्यूट हो गया और मैं तो जर्मनी में हूँ यार. सो आई एम ऑलरेडी 4.5 आवर्स बिहाइंड. होपफुली टुमारो ऑनवर्ड्स इट विल बी 3.5 आवर्स. तो कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि मैं सुबह उठता हूँ तब देखता हूँ तो अरे यार आई हैव मेड 20,000 रुपीज लॉस और 30,000 रुपीज लॉस ऑन अ पर्टिकुलर काउंटर. तो ठीक है, जाने दो. नेक्स्ट डे आई पुट अनदर जीटीटी टू बाय एट अ सर्टेन लेवल्स. इफ इट कम्स ग्रेट, आई विल बाय इट. अदरवाइज आई फाइंड अ न्यू अपॉर्चुनिटी. सो you have to do this on a day in day out basis. It's a habit that you need to cultivate, not a one off thing. आपको एक रूटीन बनाना पड़ेगा and with the routine you will be able to do this. Yeah.
यस सर गॉट इट. आई क्वेरी सर यही थी कि वापस री एंटर करना है, और री एंटर करे तो फिर कैसे करे, बिकॉज आई वुड लाइक टू टेक अ नेम आल्सो दैट बोंडाडा इंजीनियरिंग पोस्ट लिस्टिंग समवेयर अराउंड आई हिट माय स्टॉप लॉस व्हिच वाज आल्सो लाइक यू विद इन 5 to 10% में था, एंड आफ्टर दैट रिजल्ट्स एंड द स्टॉक हैज बीन वेरी गुड, गिव वेरी गुड रिटर्न्स. सो आई गॉट दैट अगर कुछ लगे तो वी कैन री एंटर अगेन. 10-20% लॉस अगर हमारा बीच का जर्नी मिस हो गया
एंड
तो
लुक
दैट
एट
इज ओके.
रिलेटिव वॉल्यूम डॉक्टर जिमी. आप रिलेटिव वॉल्यूम देखिए,
यस
आज का
यस
वॉल्यूम वर्सेस प्रीवियस डे वॉल्यूम वर्सेस 2 दिन पहले का वॉल्यूम, तो आपको पता चलेगा ट्रेंड की क्या हो रहा है. द रीड ऑन मार्क
यस
मिनर्विनी का जो वॉल्यूम कॉन्ट्रैक्शन है. ओके, दोज कंसेप्ट डज
यस
अप्लाई ऑन एसएमई एज वेल. यू विल सी द वॉल्यूम कॉन्ट्रैक्शन हैपनिंग ऑन सर्टेन स्टॉक. अगर आप इंस्टॉलेशन एनर्जी का चार्ट देखोगे तो आपको दिखेगा कि देयर इज अ क्लियर वीसीबी पैटर्न हैपनिंग देयर. या
yes sir, I am an investor over there, so I am tracking it very closely because it is a very hype space and currently in a very bullish structure, so constantly tracking
so
that.
see,
Yes
the
sir.
technical indicator definitely do work when there is a sufficient history even in SME. Yeah. बट आप एक्सपेक्ट करो कि 5 दिन के अंदर
Yes,
आपको
yes.
टेक्निकल इंडिकेटर मिल जाएंगे, तो वो थोड़ा सा इट्स नॉट, इट्स लिटिल डिफिकल्ट. यू कैन यूज दैट पैरामीटर्स लाइक आप एंकर व्यू ऐप यूज कर सकते हो समझने के लिए. यू कैन लुक एट प्योर प्राइस वॉल्यूम एक्शन just to determine what is happening. Problem with SME is that first 10 days it is in the ST category. Yeah? तो मतलब 100% डिलीवरी होती है.
Yes.
बराबर. तो आपको
Mm-hmm.
ये नहीं पता चलेगा कि कितना इंट्राडे ट्रेड हो गया. बट व्हेन द स्टॉक मूव्स टू एसएम कैटेगरी, दैट इज वेयर यू आर एबल टू सी कि हाँ भाई कितना
Mm-hmm.
इंट्राडे हो रहा है, कितनी डिलीवरी हो रही है. तो आपको थोड़ा वॉल्यूम प्रोफाइल भी समझ में आएगा उसके हिसाब से.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Shivraj had a
So
question, but
Chintan, we have Amit ji also. I mean, I surely want to hear him out also. And if you
Sandeep
and
ji,
Prince are okay, maybe Mr. Naveen Mathani also, again a very learned person. I look up to hear his views also.
yeah, but I don't see Amit
so
Bhai,
Sandeep,
unfortunately, so I can't promote him to speak.
Amit ji
Amit
had
ji,
joined,
Amit
but
ji is a speaker. Maybe he can speak. And Prince, मैं आपको नवीन जी का दे रहा हूँ. See, I think I hijacked your space, Chintan. I'm really sorry for that. And beauty of, as you rightly said, different people will have different approaches. So as you said, you probably bought, only as an example, Cosmic probably at 200, sold at 400. Rajesh ji must have bought at 300, added at pref. I, you will laugh at me. I added a significant quantity at the all-time high in Cosmic CRF, because for me that's a mid-cap allocation. So just because we all have level of research or etc. doesn't mean we'll have the same way of looking at a particular company. In fact, I call it a life of a trade. A lot of people make multiple returns. I mean, I've made a 200, 300x and a lot of stock, but I sold because immediately after 1 month I realized this is not the kind of company I want to invest. And then there were companies which did nothing for 3 quarters, 4 quarters, and then suddenly I made money. So it takes a lot of time, and different people have different styles. Some people have very fast. I mean, I sometimes envy a person like Chintan. He very categorically told me beforehand. So it's not like he's saying post fact something which cannot be verified. I was incidentally talking to him sometime in 1st of March. He said, I moved into 60% cash. I says, how is it even possible? I don't even move into 5% cash. And he just cracked it, I'll say. Right? I can't do it. I mean, first of all, I don't have mindset. I don't do stop losses. I don't have trading approvals to do that. So I have a lot of handicaps, but I'm still managing my life with my handicaps. But anyway, I'll probably hand it over to Amit ji just to share. Amit ji, session में वैसे तो Chintan gave a very fantastic read through on how to analyze SME IPO companies like newly listed, what is happening, etc. He gave like probably 20, 30 checklist points which were fantastic. And then suddenly people like Rajesh ji, me, Ameya got into space, and we started talking about our thought process about SME. So Amiji, over to you, please.
so Sandeep, I fear Amit ji got dropped. He had joined, but I cannot see him as a speaker.
No, I can
If
see him as a
he's
speaker, but
if
no,
he's
no worries.
interested,
Maybe
certainly he
Naveen
can
ji,
speak.
Naveen,
So
bhaiya.
Naveen, I can see you as a speaker. So meanwhile, please take the lead and you can share your thoughts. Meanwhile, I'll get back to Amit ji in case he's facing any issues. Yeah, Naveen.
I think that like the last 1 month has been very incidental for especially all the SME stocks, right? And somehow in January, I was like telling myself, that I want to start getting into cash in Feb. And last year, I saw that, in March, like there was a lot of sell off, and I was somehow expecting it even this March. But so many of the companies were at such good valuations that you get sucked into it, right? It's like VC investing. You feel, wow, this company is so attractive, and with the India growth story and all, like, why should I leave it out? And you start buying, and honestly, like, I was so sure that I want to get into at least 50-60% cash levels. But I was not able to. I even now I'm 100% invested. Like, I won't even say like I'm on 5% cash. And actually, like, I've been always a 100% equity investor, never done any fixed deposit in my life, no mutual funds, nothing. So last 18 years it's just been equity. So, like, when I see the fall, obviously it's disturbing, right? It's like, why you could have waited and you would have got better prices and all that, but you actually can't time the market. And with SME, again, there are corporate governance issues, and you don't know what's going on in the accounting. At least with the big companies, you feel little bit more comfortable. uh, but I think it's just a part of your investment journey. You get to learn so much, and I still believe that the money which can be made in SME, I don't think you can make in any of the large or mid caps. You will have a lot of like huge multi baggers in the coming years. And I think I've been like, you know, blessed with a lot of learned people around me. Like I've been involved with Sandeep ji from last a year almost now. And there's when you start talking to people, like-minded people, you understand their filtration process and all that. Somehow, like, even you start filtering a lot of companies with the same angle, right? You feel that yes, what I was thinking is right. You get reaffirmed about the growth story. And it is risky, no doubt about it. SME investing is risky. I've always been someone who, in my portfolio, I'll have maximum 4 or 5 shares. I've never gone like in my life like above like 8 shares in my complete portfolio. I'm a very, very concentrated investor. There was a time like I used to bet only on a single share. It's paid off well, but I had the appetite for that risk. Like everybody, like I don't advise anybody to do it. I have got hit also, fallen back like my portfolio has become half at times. So I think
Thanks.
it's a very interesting journey right now, what we are, especially in the SME market. And there was a time my portfolio was 80% like mid and large caps, and maybe 10-20% SME. Now it's become like almost 100% SME.
Great, Naveen. Great thoughts. Really helpful for our audience. So Amit is not joined, but again we got another Amit who has some questions at his part. So Amit, you can quickly unmute and ask your question, and then we go to Akhilesh and others.
Definitely. Thank you, Prince. So, I think it's a great topic that we're discussing on SMEs. So, I have a simple approach. What I would like to see is like, how about pre IPO? SMEs, identify them and start investing before. I know people have made 3x, 2x in SMEs, but when it's already gone 2x, 3x, now it's pullback time. Rather than focusing on them, the one like Swiggy, or just an example, I'm telling, Ola Electric, putting on those which have some potential to invest in as a part of SMEs and pre-IPOs, so that we get a best price, and when it comes in as part of IPO, we take the benefit out of it. So I just want to know on that thought process. Thank you.
So Chintan and others can share their thought on the same topic. Chintan, you can go first, maybe.
uh, चिंतन जब तक आता है तब तक I'll probably take it. So बस SME in risky है तो प्री आईपीओ उसके भी 10x पे आप जा रहे हो, right? Why? Because there are few inherent risk, and by the way, a lot of us are doing it. People like Chintan. In fact, pretty much all speakers in this call are pre-IPO investors also. But first hand understand, it looks very interesting because you're only looking at survivorship bias. कंपनीज आपको दिख रहा है कि यार ये तो लिस्ट हुई है 100 पे, ओपन हुई है 300 पे, इसमें एक प्री आईपीओ इन्वेस्टर ने 40 रुपीज पे किया है। और मैं आपको फिर से बता रहा हूँ, इफ यू गो बैक इन टाइम और वो कंपनी आपको 40 रुपीज में ऑफर की जाएगी, आप नहीं ले पाओगे, बिकॉज देर आर लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स विच आर स्टिल पेंडिंग, नॉट क्लियर। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, उसकी आईपीओ आएगा भी कि नहीं, क्या एनएससी बीएससी अप्रूव कर पाएगा, कंपनी जो बोल रही है अगले 6 महीने 12 महीने में वो हो पाएगा कि नहीं, और वहां से फिर 12 मंथ्स की लॉक इन है। So 24 months of lock-in, or some of us in this call for sure will have derivatives background, will realize the moment you lose your option to exit at will, that in itself is 20-30% cost. You do a simple option pricing, a cash securities versus a cash securities where you're not allowed to exit, you should at least get it at a 20-30% डिस्काउंट। कहने का मतलब आपको एक फ्री शेयर्स मिल रहे हैं जो आप कल से बेच सकते हो, और एक शेयर जो सेम चीज है, सेम कंपनी है, बट आप अगले 24 मंथ्स बेच ही नहीं सकते हो। दोनों की सिंपल मैथमेटिकल प्राइसिंग में कम से कम 30% 40% का डिस्काउंट होना चाहिए टाइम वैल्यू ऑफ मनी. So just don't jump into, and I don't even know, maybe you are, much more suave investor, and uh, a big portfolio risk appetite. So I'm talking about more in generic. I'm blindly assuming that you are new. That's why you're asking. If you're obviously very seasoned investor, pre-IPO also works. Everything works. Mid cap works, large cap works, debt works, gold works, crypto works. Everything has a different risk payoff. Everything has a different kind of a play, right? So nothing is bad or good, incomplete. Only thing is we need to understand what suits us and what we can handle. But maybe Chintan is a very pro pre-IPO. He can also share his thoughts. And I'm also, by the way, so I invested three. Probably I'll just take a pause. We'll see how it works. Um, Historically, I avoided it purely because for the reasons I mentioned here.
No, Sandeep, your point is correct. The reason I've asked because I did
Hmm.
all my stock trading, everything on US stock market,
Hmm.
not in India. Okay, so I
Hmm.
know how at least pre-IPO market works in US and confidence on companies and looking into them, and of course SEC. I'm not much aware of this one, but I'm trying to put foot into the Indian market, understand and see the
Hmm.
opportunities. Of course, you told one thing correct. I'm a crypto guy.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's compared to stock market, it is like it's like what 500, 600, 700,000%. It's like quick game, but of course, I'm looking into different areas
But
which I'm
boss,
really
sorry,
interested in
sorry to
finance.
interfere. I just realized that you are a crypto guy with 17,000 followers. Why don't you talk about crypto and we listen, right? Why are you asking questions?
Okay, so then let me.
Why should I buy doors
Will
myself?
will Sandeep will do that in a separate space.
No,
Yeah,
that was a,
Meanwhile,
that
we
was
are
a joke,
so,
yeah.
Prince.
yeah,
Obviously, that was a joke.
well,
So meanwhile, we are joined by Amit ji. So would love to hear him out. And Amit ji, over to you.
yeah, so, just a moment, Prince. Let me answer this question. Yeah, so Akhilesh ji, see, pre-IPO, mein, it's a space that I have started looking into very rigorously from December onwards. Yeah. So Rajesh bhai, me, Sandeep, even Ameya, we have discussed quite few companies on this. Yeah, for a pre-IPO investments. You will see my name coming in, even Rajesh bhai's name also coming in very frequently in 2024 and 2025 on many of the companies. Yeah, some of them I can definitely name where I have taken position. First one is GP Eco, where my name is already DRHP is out. My name is there, where I've taken some position. Another is Bharat Rohan, which is an agri drone company. The what I look for is basically the total addressable market of the particular company, the valuation which we are getting at, the profitability, and lastly the promoters' capability. What I can guess from a my interaction. We do carry out now due diligence. Our framework of due diligence is getting better day by day after talking to certain, let's say, very veteran investors like Amit Bhai. By the way, Amit Bhai has a Spangle advisor and brought some really nice companies to the market. So, I mean, it's a new learning. It's a very exciting game. There is a defense company where we have taken close to a decent percentage in pre-IPO, which will come once the DRHP is out. You'll be able to see my name there as well as my group's name there. So yes, this is very exciting because the reason, to be very honest, I saw that I was not able to get into the IPOs of the companies that I wanted to participate in. Yeah, the kind of returns we can see, the kind of returns that we want to have, like 10x, 20x, is possible when you take this kind of a risk. Here, the issue mainly is with the discovery, with the valuation that you are getting, and the the reach that you have. Yeah, so it's a learning process. It's a continuous. You are improving yourself. You are making connections, which is gonna help you. So I'm currently looking at the pre-IPO from 2 years down the line, that I want to be in a space where I am invited to the nice deals, and that's the I'm working towards that. Yeah, Rajesh bhai, if you want to add something on pre-IPO, or even Amit bhai, feel free to add. Yeah.
I think Amit ji is the veteran in pre-IPO. I think let him speak. I think we more than happy to hear him about how he managed pre-IPO, because pre-IPO is looks quite encouraging, but the people who are taking larger stake in the pre-IPO, they have to do so much work to guide the company through the listing process. So it's not a like a piece of cake when you invest in a pre-IPO deal. You don't know like what the company is all about. You just have like presentation or a couple of result or maybe audited result for 1 or 2 years. So you really don't know. You don't have much track record of those pre-IPO company. Very small company, not a convincing track record as well sometimes. So it's not a piece of cake. And as I said earlier, like it's always a question of the risk profile you have, right? So as you move into non-compliant territory, your risk increases more than 10x, as Sandeep ji said. So it's all about how much risk you want to take up. You can invest a 5 lakh, 10 lakh in a pre-IPO, but investing a lot of money in pre-IPO is warrants a lot of caution. And now let Amit ji speak. He's a veteran in pre-IPO market. I think let him throw some more light into that. Amit ji, over to you, sir.
थैंक यू चिंतन, थैंक यू संदीप जी, राजेश भाई। पहली बात तो वेटरन नहीं है सर, हम तो छोटे इन्वेस्टर हैं। आप लोग वेटरन हैं, इतना मेहनत करते हैं। और ये एक्चुअली टॉपिक है कि एसएमई मतलब आर या पार, तो वो एसएमई आर या पार नहीं है। पहली चीज़, आप क्या करते हो उसके हिसाब से, मतलब जो आप करोगे वो आपको रिवार्ड मिलेगा। कितना मेहनत कर रहे हो, कितना पढ़ रहे हो और किस जगह पे एंट्री ले रहे हो, दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। अच्छा, एसएमई क्यों? एसएमई इसलिए कि भाई कितना जल्दी बढ़ सकती है। कारण है एसएमई का बेस बहुत छोटा होता है। मैं बहुत कंपनियों में विजिट करता हूँ। आज बहुत सारी कंपनियां हैं सर जहाँ एसएमई को काम बहुत है बट उनके पास वर्किंग कैपिटल नहीं है। एग्जांपल है, कुछ सरकारी एजेंसी से काम करती है, उनके पास बिजली देने के पैसे नहीं होते तो वो ऑर्डर नहीं ले पाती है। तो आज सपोज आप वैसी कंपनी को बैक करते हो, वैसी कंपनी में पैसा डालते हो, तो आपका ग्रोथ बहुत तगड़ा आने वाला है, मोटामोटी काफ़ी सर्टेन होता है। और आपको अर्निंग्स भी तगड़ा आने वाला होता है। और सारा गेम सब अर्निंग का है और ग्रोथ का है। और अर्निंग ग्रोथ अगर आपका ठीक है तो वैल्यूएशन भी आपका कैचअप करेगा, सब कुछ करेगा। और जो पैसा मल्टीपल होता है ना, वो एसएमई छोटी कंपनी चाहे, डजेंट मैटर एसएमई हो, माइक्रो कैप हो या स्मॉल कैप हो, जो छोटी कंपनी जो जिस तरह से बढ़ सकती है ना, बिकॉज स्मॉल बेस कैन ग्रो फास्टर, मच फास्टर। बड़ी कंपनी 20-30% बढ़ने में सांस फूल जाएगी और ये 200-300% बढ़ जाएगी। अगर ये 3 साल 4 साल भी बढ़ती है, फॉरएवर नहीं बढ़ सकती, बट 3 साल 4 साल भी बढ़ती है, विच इज़ पॉसिबल। तो 3-4 साल बढ़ गया तो इट विल बी फाइन।
So, Amit, I want to add few things. Yeah, say be very where promoter has diluted too much of the stake in pre-IPO. Yeah. So I'll tell you one example. So today, one of
मैं
my
आपको
group member
चिंतन में बताता हूँ आपको
spoke to.
क्या होता है कि बहुत छोटी एग्जाम्पल बताता हूँ आपको। अभी आप
Amit, your voice is breaking. Hello.
मैं आपको एक छोटा एग्जाम्पल बताता हूँ। ये होता है ज़रूरत का टाइम। इफ़ यू आर इन पोजिशन टू डाई, तब आप क्या करोगे बॉस? आपको पानी, ऑक्सीजन का सिलेंडर चाहिए। देन यू वांट सी कि आप एनविडा देख रहे हो ना आप आज की डेट में, क्या मार्केट कैप है सर उसका? अबाउट ट्रिलियन करीब के आसपास होगा। एम आई विल बी टेल मिस्टर एम, व्हाट इज़ द, मतलब अभी कितना होगा सर उसका, एनविडा का मार्केट कैप?
2.5 ट्रिलियन या 2 प्लस तो है ही, 2.5
टू
होगा।
है सर उसका 20% स्टेक उसके प्रमोटर ने $200 में दे दिया था एक लॉयर को, बिकॉज उसके पास में फीस देने के पैसे नहीं थे एक मोमेंट पे। तो उस टाइम में वो जरूरी था कि वो उसको $200 का फीस दे, ना कि 20% स्टेक बचाए। तो इट्स क्या होता है, सिचुएशन डिपेंड करती है। हाँ, कंपनी ओके है, सब चल रहा है, दैट्स फाइन, और उसके बाद डाइल्यूट करता है तो रेड फ्लैग है एक चीज़। और कंपनी मतलब सर्वाइवल का इशू नहीं है और फिर फालतू में ही कर रहा है, जैसे मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहूँगा कि
नाम
बहुत
मत लो।
कंट्रोवर्सी जाएगी।
नाम मत लो है। मुझे पता चल गया आप
हाँ
किसकी बात कर रहे हो। नाम मत लो। नहीं बट
तो क्या है,
अभी तो नहीं, एग्जैक्टली सी वही पॉइंट है कि यार अगर प्रमोटर बहुत ज्यादा डाइल्यूट कर दिया है तो थोड़ा सा आपको समझ जाना चाहिए. डोंट बी
100%।
don't be so hasty in putting money into pre-IPO. I'll tell you, see, today I had a
नहीं,
session in
इसमें
the morning.
सिचुएशन को समझना चाहिए। देखो, प्रमोटर होल्डिंग इज वन थिंग, बट व्हाई, दैट इज आल्सो अनदर थिंग। आपके पास जवाब होना चाहिए कि वो ऐसा क्यों कर रहा है।
Correct.
अगर आपके पास में उसका लेजिटिमेट जवाब है, लॉजिकल जवाब है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। लेकिन आपके पास में जवाब ही नहीं है कि क्यों कर रहा है। तो फिर मतलब अगर आज प्रमोटर बेच के निकल रहा है तो प्रमोटर से ज़्यादा विजन आपका तो हो नहीं सकता ना।
नहीं, एब्सोल्युटली एब्सोल्युटली। बट यहाँ पे देखिए दूसरा क्या होता है कि कई बार क्या होता है कि प्रमोटर के पास प्री आईपीओ का पैसा आ जाता है, सडनली उसने इतना पैसा दिखा नहीं है, वो सीधा डाल देगा बैंक अकाउंट में और वो वहां पे पड़ा रहेगा। तो द
नहीं,
मनी
ऐसा
दैट
ऐसा नहीं होता है। ऐसा एसएमई में ऐसा नहीं होता है सर। मैं आपको बताता हूँ एसएमई में क्या होता है। एसएमई आपको समझना पड़ता है एसएमई कैसे काम करता है। मतलब मैं आपको 95% या 98% प्रमोटर का मैं बताता हूँ कैसे काम करता है एसएमई। एसएमई जो कंपनीज है ना सर, मोस्टली वो अपना घर बार भी रख देती है सर, और पूरा मतलब बोलते हैं ना जानो शिद्दत से कंपनी चलाता है एसएमई प्रमोटर। मेजोरिटी 98% का बात कर रहा हूँ मैं आपसे, 2% एक्सेप्शन होंगे, बट 98% जो है अपना घर बार मतलब वो उसको अपने बच्चे की तरह चलाता है सर। तो वो जो आप बोल रहे हैं ना कि साइड में रखने वाला ये वाला, वो 2% होंगे। तो 2% आप इजीली छोड़ सकते हो सर।
अमित जी, इनफैक्ट आई वुड लाइक टू ऐड दो तीन कंपनी है, अगेन नाम नहीं लूंगा, जहाँ पे चिंतन आपको भी अलग से मैं डीएम कर दूंगा, ऑन पर्पस नाम नहीं लेना चाहता हूँ। वो कंपनी दे वांटेड टू रेज फंड, दे कुडंट, एंड देन प्रमोटर टुक एलएपी अपनी पर्सनल प्रॉपर्टी लगा करके. Then there is a another very famous company. I went into a discussion with CFO, and my biggest concern was they had a bigger group और उनसे क्या उनका related party transaction है. And he kept on hearing, and he finally got annoyed. He said कि boss आपको ये डर है कि promoter entity इस listed entity को suck out करेगी. It is actually other way around. ये listed entity survive ही इसलिए कर रही है कि promoter entity ने अपने सारे घर बार लोन के लिए इसमें LP में लगा रखे हैं. So just to echo point, I mean, they are good companies. Most of the promoters actually treat these companies as their kids. We need to see that they struggle for funding purely because banks will not do lending to such small companies that easily. And then obviously जो marquee investor जो Sequoia of the world है, वो तो SME में आकर के pre IPO angel round. चिंतन आप बताओ ना, how common it is in our circle to have people from IIT IIM, just a PPT, just some fancy ideas, product not even developed, TAM not defined, unit level economics not defined, but day one series A is being done at let's say 5 million valuation, 500 केज का चेक लिख दिया लोगों ने. क्यों? क्योंकि उनको बस बंदे के कैरेक्टर में, दैट्स व्हाई इट इज कॉल्ड एंजल इन्वेस्टिंग. एसमी में मॉडल डिफाइंड है, उसकी कंपनी चल रही है, कैश फ्लो आ रहा है, उसको ग्रोथ कैपिटल चाहिए. अमित जी ऑल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट सम स्पेशल सिचुएशंस. कंपनी को कई बार होता है कि एक लार्ज क्लाइंट चला जाता है, कैश फ्लो फंस गया है, तो अब उसके पास 3 महीने की विंडो है, या तो वो एम्प्लॉय को जाने दे और वो कंपनी जो उसने 5 साल से बनाई है वो खत्म कर दे, या फिर वो मजबूरी में 30% डाइल्यूट कर दे. और उसकी मजबूरी बोल रहे हैं, और वो जाता है 100 लोगों के पास, एनबीएफसी के पास जाता है, बैंक्स के पास जाता है, अपने फ्रेंड्स के पास जाता है कि पैसे दे दो, नो वन गिव्स. देन कम्स सम पीपल हु आर रेडी टू टेक दैट काइंड ऑफ ए रिस्क. जब वो वर्कआउट हो जाता है तो लोगों को लगता है अरे ये तो बहुत ईजी था, हमें भी बता देते. आप नहीं देते, तब जब आपके पास वो डेक आता है ना, आप नहीं देते.
नहीं तो सी प्रॉब्लम यहीं पे ना संदीप भाई, यू नो राइट, इट्स अ यू हैव टू बी लिटिल.
देखो इसमें मैं मैं बोलना चाहूँगा, देखिए एसएमई इन्वेस्टिंग क्या है, थोड़ा बहुत मतलब बोलते हैं ना कि थोड़ा मेहनत करके मतलब इन्वेस्टिंग करने वाला है. अब लार्ज स्केल में जाएंगे, वेरी वेल रिसर्च है, वेरी 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 इन्फॉर्म्ड चीज़ें हैं. एसएमई में क्या है, आपको थोड़ा रिसर्च करना पड़ेगा, कंपनी क्या कर रही है, क्या बिजनेस है, क्या उसका बैलेंस शीट है, और उसके अलावा प्रमोटर का कैसा है, हाउ इज़ वेंडर, कस्टमर, मार्केट में क्या रेपुटेशन है, मतलब लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स. जैसे संदीप जी बता रहे थे, अपना एम्प्लॉयज़ भी बहुत बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो और आज के डेट में बहुत इजी है ये सब चीज़ें निकल जाना. आप बोलोगे तो मतलब मेजोरिटी कंपनी का कहीं ना कहीं आप बात करोगे, कुछ ना कुछ रेफरेंस निकल जाता है.
और इसमें एंड ऑफ द डे मेरा एक सिंपल है प्री आईपीओ में यार, मुझे प्रमोटर नहीं बनना है तो मैं इतना नहीं डालूंगा पैसा कि अगर वो कंपनी और मेरा इन्वेस्टमेंट डूब गया सपोज, तो मुझे जाके उसकी कंपनी में बैठ के कंपनी को चलानी पड़ेगी. ओके, सो एज
नहीं, वो तो आप मेरी बात सुनिए, आप बड़ा पैसा भी डाल देंगे या वो क्वांटम इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है चिंतन भाई. इम्पोर्टेंट है कि आप क्या प्रोसेस फॉलो कर रहे हो पैसा डालने में.
नहीं,
मैं
अग्री
हाँ
अमित भाई, completely agree with that, but see problem अभी you also know right, nowadays there is a flurry of pre-IPO investment proposal coming left, right and center. राजेश भाई और मैं मतलब we are in so many calls. मतलब see the good thing is that after talking to so many people you
चिंतन
understand
भाई,
and develop
मैं
a
महीने
depth
की
of
20 से 25 कंपनी मिलता हूँ कम से कम.
अमित भाई, see, what I'm trying to say is कि
हाँ
you understand, one आप एक को आपकी प्रोसेस आपको समझ में आती है, आपको सेक्टरल अंडरस्टैंडिंग पता चलती है आफ्टर टॉकिंग टू दिस पीपल, या
हाँ
आपने
हाँ
अभी एक सोलर कंपनी से बात किया, फिर दूसरी सोलर कंपनी से बात करोगे, सो योर नॉलेज ऑल्सो इंक्रीजेज विद एवरी इंटरेक्शन, या सो
राइट
मैं तो
राइट
कहता हूँ जितना भी जिसको प्री आईपीओ को मिल रहा है, आप बात करो प्रमोटर से, अटेंड द कॉन कॉल्स, गेट द अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द सेक्टर, तो you will be able to make better decision in both unlisted as well as listed space, yeah.
हम्म
And as a thumb rule, I don't look at the companies which are in pre-revenue stage, क्योंकि यहाँ पे यार मतलब ठीक है, रिस्क बहुत ज्यादा होता है, भले ग्रोथ पोटेंशियल काफी ज्यादा क्यों ना हो, वी आर नॉट, आई एम नॉट, और एटलीस्ट आई एम नॉट दैट मच रिच इनफ कि आई कैन जस्ट इन्वेस्ट मनी, इट्स आई डोंट वांट टू प्ले lottery with my investment, yeah. So I want to have certain level of comfort, so the due diligence that you put in has to be top notch, and it's a learning process. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप day one से you'll be able to do everything that you are supposed to look into a company. आप गलतियां करोगे, सुधारो company, learn from that, and you get associated with the right set of guys. They help you in your journey. Yeah, that's what I've seen on the pre-IPO. Yeah.
Chintan, I want to ask
100%.
one question about this pre-IPO. Like, obviously, it's been done by most of the HNIs involved and all that, right? They go on a pre-IPO stage. But is there even scope for investors whose maybe portfolio value is only like 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs coming in? Do these promoters even accept like small ticket investment or not?
So I don't know, Naveen ji, is that you asking this question?
Yes, yes, yes. Because I've never been into pre-IPO. I have never had the interest to get into it. Also, I don't know why. And in
So,
fact, I have never applied for an IPO in my life. It's always after listing I start looking into it.
So, Naveen bhai, see the pre-IPO game, has a two thing. Either you go proactively identify a company, approach them, convince
Yeah,
them to give you the mandate, or at least you help them with the mandate, yeah.
yeah.
Or second is that you develop contacts, connections through which you can invest into it, yeah. The ticket size should not be an issue because there are many opportunity where the ticket size is even pretty low, yeah. But
Okay, okay. No, why I'm asking is that like there are a lot of people, maybe even on this call, right, that their portfolio value is maybe 10 lakhs, right? Like when we are discussing about pre-IPO, do you think like a lot of people whose ticket is only like maybe 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, will they be able to invest in pre-IPO?
no, see, it's not about able to invest, yeah. It's whether they should invest. And my suggestion is please don't. Yeah, मैं तो कहूँगा अगर 10 लाख है आपका capital, don't invest in SME as well. Okay, because with a one or two bad trade, you will wipe a lot of your capital. Yeah. So, if you have let's say 10 lakh capital, my suggestion is please go and buy small cap for mutual fund. You wouldn't believe I have received roughly 50% returns from quant small cap. Okay, I also published
Yeah.
my mutual fund choices on small cap.
हम्म,
प्लीज बाय दैट, डोंट लुक एट एसएमई यार, क्योंकि 10 लाख है कैपिटल आपका, यू कैपिटल प्रिवेंशन हैज टू बी द फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी इंस्टेड ऑफ अ कैपिटल एप्रिसिएशन, या आप धीरे धीरे रुपए बनाओ, डोंट बी टू मेक मनी बाय लुकिंग एट समबडी स्क्रीनशॉट, माय स्क्रीनशॉट और somebody else's स्क्रीनशॉट कि भाई इसने इतना बनाया तो मैं भी बना सकता हूँ, बिकॉज देयर इज अ आई बी एबल टू स्लीप वेरी पीसफुली, मतलब 5 मार्च के बाद मैं आराम से सोया हूँ, मैंने सुबह का अलार्म भी नहीं लगा था, बिकॉज आई हैड नो प्रॉब्लम, आई वाज हैप्पी टू जस्ट सिट आउट बिकॉज आई वाज सिटिंग इन लॉट ऑफ कैश, या. But I know many of the people
Yeah,
who are
but what
very
what what has happened is what has happened is like in the last 2 years, right? With the kind of returns many people have made on the SME side, so a lot of people whose ticket size is like small or portfolio size is small, they have also got sucked into SME, right? And obviously on social media you can see only people who have made मैंने 10 रुपए में share लिया आज 100 रुपए हो गया. But on the other hand, there is a lot of story even like people have invested, the share is opened at 160, went up to 200, today the share is lagging at 60, 70, and there are no buyers at all, and there are lot of companies jab SME started picking up. I think initially they were like, maybe in the market in the whole year coming maybe 50 SMEs or 100 SMEs, right? Today with the flush of SMEs, everybody is just jumping into it without understanding the company also. And I've got like personally like many people sending me DMs कि मैंने अभी 4 महीने पहले ये शेयर 170 में उठाया, 180 में उठाया, 60 रुपीज में पड़ा है, एंड नो वॉल्यूम एट ऑल. So nobody shows that other side, right, where the stock has actually gone down and gotten beaten, like to maybe even like 25% or 30% of where it got listed. And there are many names like that, like, just for one example, I have no idea about this company, like Deepak Chemtex had, like, I think 600 times oversubscription, right? And as a retail investor, you see, wow, there's so much of demand that there is 600 times oversubscription. It got listed, it was at, I think, 130, 140, and now it is at 65 or 68, and the volume is not there at all. So there is the other side also of it.
So Naveen bhai, exactly, absolutely true. See, I'll give you a very good example. Yeah, अगर आपके पास आपका कैपिटल कम है और आपको एसएमई में इन्वेस्ट करना है, this is the right time to look at the companies which did a preference. Most of the company which did a preference in last 6 months are below their preferential price. Okay, तो look at those companies. उसमें से जो आपको सबसे अच्छी लग रही है उसका एक लॉट उठा लो और बैठो शांति से. एटलीस्ट 6 महीने के अंदर या 4 महीने के अंदर आपको रिटर्न अच्छा मिल जाएगा, क्योंकि जो प्रेफरेंशियल वाले घुसे हैं वो कम से कम 6 महीने तक तो वो उतना प्रेफरेंशियल अमाउंट वैसे भी निकाल नहीं पाएंगे. डू सम रिसर्च. या प्रॉब्लम क्या है नवीन भाई की लोगों को मेहनत नहीं करनी है. यू वुडंट बिलीव भाई, क्योंकि उनको सिर्फ मतलब थाली में खाना रखा हुआ है, वो भी उनको कोई उनके मुंह में डालेगा उनको उतना तक चाहिए. नोबडी वांट्स टू पुट एफर्ट टू रिसर्च. या अगर वो करेंगे, मैंने अभी ये देखा, मैंने बताया बराबर प्रेफरेंशियल वाला. लेट मी सी हाउ मेनी पीपल आर गोना टैग ऑल ऑफ अस एंड से सर ये प्रेफरेंशियल इस पे हुआ था, शुड वी बाय दिस एट दिस लेवल. व्हाई डोंट पीपल आस्क दिस क्वेश्चन? या बिकॉज लोगों को मेहनत नहीं करनी है सर, टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट. या
No, but preferential is, again, the share is already gone up. Company has got valued well. The preferential investors are coming in at a much higher valuation, right? Sometimes share is getting listed at 100. After a year, you will see the promoters doing preferential at 200, and a lot of marquee names are coming into it, right? But I'm just talking about, like the companies which are getting listed every week. You hear like 3, 4 companies are already got listed in the market, right? In SME. So many companies are getting listed nowadays that people are just blindly, investing in them. Some of them just see, okay, this company has got oversubscribed by 500 times. There's so much of huge demand, because that's how the mid caps and large caps work, right? When they come into the market, everybody sees, wow, there's so much of retail demand and HNI demand, and then they start judging, yes, this share will do well. But in SME, it's not the same picture, right? The shares are getting or 500, 600 times over subscription, and after listing it's going at like half the valuation.
So Naveen bhai, I'll probably add here. Very
Naveen,
interesting point you made. How can a company be 600 times subscribed,
Yeah,
open at double the price, and
yeah,
within 1 month it is trading at 20% discount and there are no buyers, right?
right.
So that is where SEBI chairman talked about two things. So one is the malfunction, which I'm not sure is the case here. So let's not blindly portray a company like that. And second was this entire SME mania. So last 6 months, everyone was making so much of money that people just started doing. And that is where I also talk about regulatory. Every regulatory action has a collateral challenge which pops up after 3 months, 3 years, right? Then regulator fix that, and then something else will pop up. In this case, what happened is, in India is one of those markets जिसने कुछ 40 डेज से 15 से 10 से 8 से अभी 3 डेज में भी एसबा में आपका पैसा केवल T+2 होता है. फंसता है एज इन लॉक इन है. इंटरेस्ट आपको
Yeah,
तब भी मिल रहा है क्योंकि पैसा कभी आपके अकाउंट से जा नहीं रहा है. So forget about IPO financing. I know a lot of business people who, let's say, have 2 crores, 3 crores, small automobile dealers, spare parts dealers, real estate guys who have no idea of IPO markets, our stock, our SME. They just don't care. All they know, मेरे पास 3 करोड़ पड़ा है, अगले 10 दिन के लिए मेरे पास पैसे की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, मैं इसको बस IPO में डालूंगा और डे 1 पे बेचूंगा. And it
right.
is actually very disheartening. And I've written few times, talked multiple times in forums, private forums, that it's an insult to capital markets. What was happening? It's an
Yeah,
absolutely insult and humiliation to see something like this happening, because essentially, what is capital market? Capital market is a platform where you are bringing in willing investor and willing company to come at an agreed point, hypothetically, where money is getting transferred. But in
Yeah.
the process, the scalpers, for right or wrong reasons, and all they are doing is legal. So I'm not even talking about anything illegal here, right? It's just the way markets are structured. There is a 80-90% kind of a gap in many cases. So कंपनी को मिलना चाहिए था 100, कंपनी को मिला 60. जो इन्वेस्टर उसके साथ बैठना चाहते हैं उन कंपनी को, जो कि वो 100 पे एंटर कर सकते थे, वो कर रहे हैं 160 पे. So as a country, we are basically making this entire valid platform a gambling den, right?
Yeah.
But that cannot sustain. So it was obviously a phase. The way it has come in crypto, the way it has come in US technology, the way it has come in power in India in 2008, it came in SME. I'm very boldly saying it with a risk of being trolled that 2000 next 12 months will be very different for two three reasons. One, the kind of things which happened in last 9 months is unlikely to get repeated. So all those people who are here only for gambling tendencies will basically disappear. They will go somewhere else. Second, regulators will obviously fix some of these nuances where, let's say, there was a dubious, spurious flow just to make it open at a certain place, etc., and then dump it. I'll say probably 5-10% of the market, but even that needs to be fixed, and that's where probably regulators are focusing. And third, which you probably mentioned a couple of times, is amount of SME companies. I don't think India has so much of India has a lot of capital, but India does not have that kind of a risk capital. And more than what is risk, as Amaya was earlier saying, your risk dramatically drops if you understand something. If you don't understand, everything is risky. So just because we don't have understanding as a market, as an investor, to appreciate these kind of companies, the risk involved, rewards involved, probabilities involved, there is not enough risk capital to fund this kind of an SME IPO flow. So what will happen is valuation in itself will start coming into comfort zone. And another thing which I always want to add is, as a country, and you will say like, why are we even talking about country? Just focus on you. For a second, let's talk about country level, right? We need enough CS, enough CFOs, enough analysts, right? An analyst right now has zero incentives to cover SME. Why? Because SME company उसको 2 लाख रुपए देगी नहीं. There is nothing called paid research. I mean, in large cap में a lot of it is issuer paid research or indirectly paid research, right? Sell side. और
Yeah.
जो हम में से कोई लिखेंगे तो इतने सारे रिस्क इन्वॉल्व हैं, क्योंकि कंपनीज इतनी रिस्की हैं कि अगर हमने धोखे से लिख भी दिया एक कंपनी के बारे में एक पेज में इन गुड फेथ, purely because 200 people were asking and I wrote on something on Twitter, 2 years down the line that company goes to the dust. It will be
Yeah.
impossible for me to justify what I wrote and why I wrote. And
Yeah.
that actually deters a lot of good guys to write even good things, right? But framework needs to get developed, and it will. See, market की beauty क्या है? Demand, supply, money, efforts, सब कुछ align हो जाते हैं. I have a very high degree of focus. Good investors will start, appreciating some of these companies little more. Good quality professionals will come into, good CFOs, good CS, good IR people, good fund managers. A lot of PMS will probably get more active, and at some stage, AIFs, not the kind which we see in SME names right now, more of a, I'll probably hold on there. I don't want to go there, but genuine AIFs, right? And I can
Yeah.
tell you, as we speak, there are at least 7-8 SME companies where FIIs, FIIs as in the genuine FIIs with zero Indian connections. I'm talking about University of Texas, University of Massachusetts,
Yeah.
Pension Fund California. Those kind of companies have started taking exposure in some of the evolved SME companies, 2 years, 3 years track record. Because
Yeah.
when they are running the global database on Bloomberg, they are stunned. They are stunned at the growth. They are stunned at the balance sheet. Then they do secondary research and they are comfortable with the companies. They are taking small positions. So
Yeah.
all that serious money will also come into space. This will happen in next 12 months, 18 months. And all those people who have spent crazy amount of hours in this space will get rewarded because they can understand all the actors, all the incentives, bad and good. And probably this reward will get played, but it will be, think like this. Last 6 months, a lot of people used to come to me and my first question was, what are your return expectation? And they will say 200-300% in a year. I said my return expectation from my SME portfolio, which is roughly 25% of my equity allocation, and I'm a 100% equity guy, is around 35 to 40%, knowing very well that in some years I'll get 70, in some years I'll get 10. And they were
Yeah.
like, sir, चले जाते थे वो. They used to pity at me. उनको
Yeah.
लगता था यार ये तो 1 महीने में हो जाएगा, ये क्या बोल रहा है बंदा. If I tell them a stock, let's say I'm owning a stock and they want to know in private DM They're requesting कि sir कोई आपको घबराने की जरूरत नहीं, आप बता दो why are you holding. I said I'm roughly expecting 35-40% in next 12 months. I can assure you, Naveen bhai, there were people who were holding those stocks and they just sold because they felt there is a reasonable guy. He's saying all he's expecting in 1 year is 35-40%. He said, chuck it. I don't want
Yeah.
to hold this stock. So all those crazy expectation will come to
I think
come down to
most of them
flow.
expectation is that if we are getting into SME, we should make 2x, 3x in a year, right? I think
Not at the
that's the kind
portfolio
of
level. Obviously, it will happen at a stock level. If you buy 10 stocks, some will
yeah,
obviously will be 300. That's how the portfolio will work. But then
yeah,
something will be minus 30 also. Something will be going up 100, and before you even sell, it will come back to zero. So that's why the maths. I mean, it's a simple mathematical game. People need to put in. Uh, See, enough people have written about it, right?
yeah,
Right from the godfather of SME investing, Jan Kozel, I literally like keep on copying his tweets all the time.
yeah,
To a lot of very learned people in India. One thing more, Naveen bhai, I didn't probably market misunderstand, and I'm a cold derivative guy.
yeah,
Amount of people in India in the retail using algo trading for derivatives, and again, let's not even go there, right or wrong, is crazy high, is much more high than in places like US and Europe. Europe, obviously, I don't think many people might be even doing it. And that is because we are young, we are learned, we
yeah,
learn things quickly. And these retail investors, जिनको आप नाम से रिटेल बाय डेफिनेशन को लोग उसको डम मान लेते हैं, नहीं, रिटेल में भी मच स्मार्टर देन सम ऑफ दीज इंस्टीट्यूशंस.
yeah,
बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूशन आज भी एक्सेल पे काम कर रहे हैं और ये रिटेल एपीआई लिख करके उस पर ट्रेड कर रहा है. तो जस्ट
yeah,
बिकॉज कोई एक रिटेल है, किसी बंदे का 50 लाख का पोर्टफोलियो है, ये ब्लाइंडली एज्यूम करना कि उसकी इंटेलिजेंस उतनी नहीं होगी जितनी एक 50 सीआर के पोर्टफोलियो वाले बंदे की होगी, ये भी गलत है. ऑब्वियसली ही विल लैक एक्सपीरियंस, but he will not have mental models which are absolute also, right? So he's a new
yeah,
learner, he's coming from clean slate. A lot of times uh, he will do the kind of analysis and decisions which probably oldies can't do because they are
yeah,
not nimble enough, they are not learning. For example, I was blocked to railway, I was blocked to EPC purely because of all the bad experiences I've seen. I'm seeing these companies for 20 years, how can I even invest into railway? But then I kept on hearing good guys talking about railway. Then I ended up investing in one purely because I got deeper understanding of what was the play.
yeah,
But in that case, my experience actually came as a handicap. It That company was very categorically explained by some very good meaning people, very good knowledgeable people. Again, in this call, I don't want to embarrass them all the time by taking names and taking stock name. But I was just blocked because बोला अरे यार रेलवे में क्या होता है, अभी ये 3 महीने की कहानी है, उसके बाद इन स्टॉक्स को कोई टच नहीं करेगा. And by the time I realized, I probably ended up paying 3x, but that's fine because I feel that it's a 10x story in 5 years. So
yeah.
it doesn't matter.
So
So we will learn a lot of lessons in coming 12 months, I'll say, as a group, as in market structure, everything. Like a lot of things will happen. It's a very interesting space, if nothing else.
Also, I think that when somebody asks me, like, do you think I should invest in SME? My first thing always to them is that, can you take even a 50% downside? Maybe down the line the story will be 3x or 5x or 10x, right? First thing is, like, can you take a 50% downside? Because I remember, like, many years I had always followed Ashish Chukji. I had a lot of respect for him. I used to see all his videos, and he was one of the first guys who was in like these micro caps and all, right? Very similar to what Ian Castle kind of investing. And he always said that in many of his stocks he had a 50% drawdown, and he was not sure like why it has gone down so much. And then suddenly that same stock became like 5x or 10x. So do people have that holding capacity also when they're getting into SME, that okay, I believe in this company, everything looks good and all that, but sometimes because of the low floats, liquidity, need of a person. I remember in one of the stock I was holding, and couple of my other friends were holding. One of my friends said that I need money very urgently. I want to sell it, and there was no volume. And when he dumped it, the stock went like 20% down. Right. So nobody knows actually. Sometimes somebody has a need of money, or he feels some other opportunity is very big, and because of the low volume and they want to liquidate it, the stock just goes down like 20-25% without any reason. And now, if you see, like every time in March, this is the story, right? Some people are doing tax harvesting. I'm getting mails from ICICI directly emailing, and I think everybody is getting it now, saying that this is a month of tax harvesting. Why don't you do it? Right? So even like tax harvesting has become a very like common theme now in March.
No, but Naveen bhai, see, I have a different view on this. Yeah, that 50% drawdown topic. Yeah, see, if somebody asks me, I'll tell him, बस आपको SME में invest करना है आप करो, but you need to be disciplined enough and strict enough to take 5% loss or 10% loss and get out. Yeah, don't wait for the stock to hit 50% low. Why? I mean, either you have chosen a wrong company or you have chosen a wrong valuation to enter in the company. So accept your defeat, accept that you are wrong, and move on. Find a better opportunity because there are so many opportunities. Yeah. So
But Chintan, you don't get sometimes oppositely. It's not like a mid cap or large cap stock that you think, okay, I have faced it myself. Like I feel okay in this stock, I want to keep stop loss at 10%, but there's no exit sometime at all. Maybe because of market, maybe because of some one news which has come out, it starts hitting continuously like 10% lower circuit for like 5 days. And sometimes when the circuit is 20%, morning you get up, it's already like on 20% lower circuit, right? You can't
see,
sometimes keep these stop losses on SME companies. It's very
but
tough.
no, Naveen bhai, see, that's where the greed plays the factor. I'll give you a very recent example. Okay, Thai casting for an example. Okay, Thai casting I bought it on the listing. All right, और मैंने 3 दिन के बाद या 4 दिन के बाद मैंने 215 के आसपास बेच दिया. ठीक है. I sold it on a UC, all right. Next 3 day, it went into LC. Then again, there is some buying came. Stock went all the way up to 221. Uh, and then stock is now at around 150, 60, something like that. Yeah. तो यहाँ पे if I would have been कि नहीं भाई मुझे इस पे रहना ही है till the end I would have received a roughly I don't know 30-40% 50% loss in my invested capital. Yeah. तो मैंने सिर्फ 5 या 10% का जो भी प्रॉफिट लेके मैं निकल गया बिकॉज आई थॉट कि मुझे यहाँ पे कंफर्ट नहीं आ रहा है इस लेवल पे.
Right, but आपको तो यूसी मिला ना निकलने के लिए. Sometimes I'll give you an example. I invested in a stock called Rudra Grass, right? And suddenly because of this market, I was like almost 40% down, and there was no angle to exit also. Every
But
day morning you see that it's at lower circuit. So how does a person keep a stop loss on a share like that?
But sir, so Rudraksh is not the right stock for me because I bought it at 134 rupees or something like that, yeah, and I made roughly
Chintan,
100%.
Chintan, problem is you are one of those 0.1% people who can do it. Trust me, either I'm old or dumb or something. जो तुम बोलते हो ना मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता है. मैं तो पहले एक बार बता रहा हूँ. So let's be very honest here. I
No,
can't do it.
and that's the truth. See,
I
I'm
I
ready to
can't do it.
accept
चिंतन
that.
जो आप बोल रहे हो ना मतलब मेरे बस का ही नहीं है. मेरे होता ही नहीं है. क्योंकि मैं इतना रिसर्च करके कोई कंपनी खरीदता हूँ तो आई थिंक वी शुड आल्सो अप्रिशिएट एज अ ग्रुप विद इन दिस स्पेस. प्रिंस हैज बीन वेरी जनरस. सबको अलाउ कर दिया और हम लोग आपस में बातें भी कर रहे हैं. Is that Chintan is very different. I mean, he's totally into SME, and I'm also having a sizable exposure. But our approaches are very different. And then beauty is we are still talking to each other with decent respect and trying to learn from each other. So if someone who's really very young, I mean, a lot of people are very veteran also, even as a listener here, but someone who's very young should also try to appreciate this thing that we are literally talking about 180 diagonal point of view on the same space, on the same sector, same market segment, and we are saying we are fine. I mean, everyone has a different style or way of doing things. Personally, I don't put stop losses. In fact, I go by the fact that if going down is giving you discomfort, you never had a conviction, right?
Yeah,
Time
Sandeep,
correction will be
देखिए,
there,
like
price correction
it,
will be there. That's part of my investment journey. But then I buy with a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year view, and which probably reduces my overall returns, but I have more comfort. I have other things to do, kind of a thing also. So it really depends upon what's your time frame, what's your investing style, what you can do better. I'll with full respect, I'll say I envy what Chintan does. Or in fact, a lot of people like Chintan. In fact, I know at least 10, 15 such smart people who are able to make money out of this Ganga also. We are more on the sidelines, I'll say. Anyway,
or
I'll
Sandeep,
go on to
like
onto the
see,
listening space purely because I think I've already hijacked a lot of time for Chintan and Prince. So many thanks to both of you. I'll go into the listener mode just to listen what others are saying because otherwise I have a habit of speaking too much.
Yeah, so Prince, you have
So
your hand up.
before we let you go, Sandeep, before you let you go, Sandeep, so there are many marquee investor today. So let me like pitch for myself. So I want to IPO. So who will be keen to join me in that venture? Yeah. So jokes apart, like Akhilesh has been waiting quite a while. So let's go to Akhilesh, and Akhilesh, over to you.
नहीं,
Akhilesh, you there?
आई थिंक अखिलेश जी ने वो प्री आईपीओ का क्वेश्चन पूछना था, उन्होंने पूछ लिया। आई थिंक अभी वेदांश इज देयर विद अ क्वेश्चन, सो
Okay, okay, my bad, my bad. I thought he Akhilesh is running. Yeah, Vedansh, you can quickly unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, I came just as a listener. I don't know how I came to become a speaker. I'm sorry.
no problem, no
Chalo,
problem.
good to
There are
know that.
few
Yeah.
questions, Prince. So Amaya, are you there? अच्छा, Amaya is on listener mode. तो रॉक साइड टेक के ऊपर अगर if you can speak, yeah.
So Chintan, I guess like that person can tag Ameya, and perhaps if he is willing, he can answer maybe through DM or so. Otherwise, let's not get into company specific until unless we have like studied. Okay, we got Ameya. Yeah.
हाँ, Amaya, so रॉक साइड टेक के बारे में, because I think you spoke to the promoter in one of the con call, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so first of all ऐसा है ना कि like they मतलब काफी बड़ी बड़ी बातें की उन्होंने, and then since I work in the same domain, I mean literally same domain, like within the domain. So I was very intrigued to see कि इतना छोटा कंपनी ये सब कैसे कर पा रहा है, because another little advantage which I get is I also have a experience of starting my own company, trying to run it with all might, heart and soul for like 2 years and then closing it down. Yeah, so थोड़ा बहुत उसमें से पता चल जाता है कि कौन सी चीज करने के लिए क्या लगता है और किस चीजों में कितना बिलीव करना चाहिए. सो द काइंड ऑफ गाइडेंस दैट दे वर गिविंग एंड जिस तरह की बातें उन्होंने की एंड दे वर कंपेयरिंग देमसेल्व्स विद विप्रोज एंड टीसीएस ऑफ अर्ली डेज, वो आपके एम्प्लॉयज से और जिस तरह के लोग हैं आपके पास में उससे वो रिफ्लेक्ट होना चाहिए. या वो नहीं होता है. And it's very clear that they either have a contractual employees more than जो payroll पे होते हैं, but the kind of deals ये लोग बोल रहे हैं कि हम लोग उसमें engaged हैं, ये चीजें हम लोग करना चाहते हैं, वैसी डील एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए आप कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल एम्प्लॉयज के बेसिस पे नहीं कर सकते हो, बिकॉज दे विल ब्लीड यू आउट स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. प्लस एकदम क्रिटिकल कोई मोमेंट है, उस टाइम पे वो बंदा छोड़ के चला गया, so it's very difficult for you to deliver. And you're such a small company that you can't really, arrange talent at a such a short notice. And ऐसा है ना कि यूजुअली जिस तरह से कोई भी एसएमई का कोई भी प्रमोटर हो, जिस तरह से किसी भी इन्वेस्टर को ट्रीट करता है, बेसिक जो रिस्पेक्टफुली बात करनी होती है, वो बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. इट डजेंट मैटर आपका पोर्टफोलियो में 100 शेयर्स हैं, लाइक आई मीन 100 शेयर्स है किसी कंपनी के या 10,000 शेयर्स है उस कंपनी के, डजेंट मैटर, राइट. थोड़ा सा अगर रिस्पेक्टफुली प्रमोटर बात कर रहा है, ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हाँ, so when we went into the call, uh, naturally the expectation is to understand what they are doing, how they are doing that, and what जितना बोल रहा है उसमें से एटलीस्ट 70% भी कर पाएगा कि नहीं. So naturally that is the intention with which you get into the call. But then when you see that promoter is not really willing to answer the questions unless you talk about how much quantum of investment you are looking to do, it becomes a clear cut reason to exit. And to be very honest, having worked in the same domain, literally in the same domain in S4 HANA and all these transformation projects, I know what it takes, what kind of team it's required to deliver these kind of projects. It's not easy to deliver these kind of projects. It's very easy that you will run into negative CP. So to be honest, वो trust factor build नहीं हुआ promoter के साथ में, and I had bought a little bit of quantity there, and immediately after the meeting I exited. So there are a lot of better promoters. The problem वही है, Chintan sir, you know that, right? So within the SME in the IT space, it's very difficult to find a person who is genuinely trying to do something which is meaningful. People just want to use big jargons कि हम लोग ये कर रहे हैं, हम लोग इनके इसके implementation partner है, हम क्रिप्टो कर रहे हैं, हम एआई कर रहे हैं. किसी ने भी अगर छोटा सा भी आईटी कंपनी कभी स्टार्ट करने का एफर्ट भी लिया है तो उसको समझ में आएगा व्हाट इट टेक्स टू डू दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग, राइट. So not to be very honest, I don't want to talk lot negative about any of the company. It's just that I don't get the trust from the promoter, and the promoter is, मुझे ऐसा लगा, is very hard footed. He's not really willing to even understand कि अगर इंडस्ट्री में किसी 18-20 साल काम किया हुआ बंदा आके आपको बोल रहा है कि बॉस, आई डोंट थिंक ये इस तरह से कर रहे हो, कैसे कर रहे हो, तो वो उसको उसके लिए वो ही इज नॉट इवन ओपन फॉर दैट. सो ऐसे जब सिचुएशन आती है तो इट्स वेरी वेरी क्लियर दैट यू रियली डोंट वांट टू एंड अप होल्डिंग द बैग. या सो दैट्स माय वेरी शॉर्ट व्यू ऑन द कंपनी. आई थिंक संदीप भाई ने भी ये कंपनी स्टडी किया था. आई थिंक ही shares the same thought, I believe.
Right. Thanks, Amia. So Chintan, Akhilesh was yet to ask his question, so not sure he's there or he got dropped. So, anyways, Chintan, I guess it's almost 3 hours, and I think we should be closing now. I mean, anything to conclude on your part? It was great to have all the lovely people around, and definitely sometime down the line we can again arrange such spaces with multiple speakers, diverse views, yet they support each other.
So,
Yeah, Chintan, over to you.
so Prince, first of all, thank you for allowing us and giving us this platform, and also allowing other speakers who joined when I requested them, to come and talk to the listeners. Yeah. So first of all, thank you very much for giving this platform. Yeah. Secondly, to all the listeners who have asked certain questions in the chat, we will respond to your questions if we have not been able to answer it. Uh, and yeah, so see, I mean, please develop your own trading psychology. थोड़ा एक discipline लाइए. Look at the companies that you are finding interesting. Uh, Look at some of the Twitter handles who are talking and putting up their own research. Okay, ask them questions. Yeah, अगर और कुछ खुद का रिसर्च नहीं करना है तो प्लीज आस्क क्वेश्चंस एटलीस्ट कि सर ऐसा क्यों है वैसा क्यों है वेदर इट इज इन अ ट्विटर स्पेस और वेदर इन ट्विटर ऑन व्हाट्सएप वेर एवर यू आर कनेक्टेड टू दैट पर्सन जस्ट आस्क दैट क्वेश्चन सर ये आपने क्यों लिया या यहाँ पे सर मुझे यहाँ पे ये आपको क्या लग रहा है द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट एवरीबडी आस्क कि सर मैं ये बाय करूँ या मैं वो बाय करूँ सो डोंट आस्क दोस क्वेश्चन आस्क क्वेश्चंस व्हिच हेल्प यू लर्न या हेल्प यू ग्रो एज एन इन्वेस्टर. I promise you that all of the speakers who are there in the call will help you. अगर वो नहीं करते हैं तो आप मुझे बता दीजिएगा. I'll call them and ask them to respond to your query. If it is for helping you learn, helping you earn
Certainly.
is so don't follow someone blindly because many times even let's say those who are following me, I don't mention my partial exit because एसएमई में अगर मैं डायरेक्टली मेरा एग्जिट डाल दूंगा तो मुझे ही कभी एग्जिट मिलने का निकलने का टाइम नहीं मिलता है. सो आई ओनली पोस्ट माई एग्जिट आफ्टर आई कंप्लीटली एग्जिट अ स्टॉक. या सो बी कंटेंट विद द प्रॉफिट दैट यू आर गेटिंग. डोंट ट्राई टू चेज 100% इन एवरी सिंगल स्टॉक. आपने देखा होगा मैं भी कई कई स्टॉक में 5% लेके भी निकला हूं और किसी में मैं 7x 8x पे भी मैंने बुक नहीं किया है. तो यू नीड टू हैव अ स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक स्ट्रेटेजी. थोड़ा आप रिसर्च कीजिए थोड़ा कन्विक्शन बढ़ाइए. डोंट फॉलो एनीवन ब्लाइंडली फॉर एंड बी कंटेंट विद व्हाट यू गेट. कैपिटल प्रिजर्वेशन हैज टू बी द primary concern then capital appreciation. Yeah.
100%. And Akhilesh, I'll come to you. Small input prior to that. So basically, what happens is like when we try to copy somebody, and mostly it happens that we take one or two ideas from that person because we are unable to copy that person in entirety, right? In that case, it might be a fair possibility the ideas which you copied didn't do well for that person, and again, you may get into heavy losses. So you have to be like open with all eyes and ears in the sense like you have to do your own due diligence. Always take social media inputs as a starting point. So Akhilesh, thank you for being patient and staying with us. Yeah, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Prince. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes, Akhilesh.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you. So let me not take the glory and thunder away from the SMEs, like subject matter experts who are there on SMEs, small and medium scale enterprises, as well as pre-IPO. But my thoughts on these is, most of investors who are in the market don't have the bandwidth, network, or capital to actually dip in the tested waters, untested waters like SMEs and pre-IPO. So it is far better for people like far lesser mortals like me and many others to actually have research businesses, bigger businesses, or even small and medium scale businesses which are listed for say around 10 years, 15 years, to actually analyze them, their business cycle, their productivity, their profitability, their total addressable market, and there are enough examples where you can actually get 10x, 20x, 40x in 4 years, or even maybe 10 years, or even there are companies which have actually become 10x in last 4 5 months also. So I'll give just one or two examples without actually mentioning their name. There is a company which got listed in 94, and it took it another 25 years to become a 40x, and then in another 2 years it actually became 1600x. So from 1 to 40, again it became 40 times from that 40. So, and there are enough number of examples in market which are large enough. c- so I'm not mentioning any names, but there is a company which is actually having a 33% operational profit margin as of now, and having a market cap of around only 1700 crore, whereas the leader in that same sector has a market cap of 1.53 lakh crore, and their operational profit margins are less than operating profit margins are less than 24%. So why don't we check those companies and analyze those, because we have enough data, we have enough con calls, we have enough transcripts, management interviews, and we have enough resources to actually go and check most of these things from vendors, suppliers, customers. So, as somebody was saying that there is data from Bloomberg, there is data from Thomson Reuters. There are now companies outside India which are actually collecting data on ESG performance of the companies. And if you really see what Amay discussed in the last space, or some of the other speakers on your spaces have discussed, there is new type of companies which are coming in future, which will actually be judged on different parameters rather than only profitability, net profit margin, or maybe the total addressable markets. The kind of disruption which is taking place in the technology as well as business domains is unpredictable. So we should look at those data points also. I think what we are missing as investor is the research attitude and more of a return attitude, that we should get X returns in X months or X. Rather than doing that, if we start devoting some time for research, we might actually get more X returns than what we are doing currently by chasing SMEs or pre-IPO. Not to mention that I am also invested in one pre-IPO company where I invested in 2020 at a pre-money valuation of 1 crore, and recently we raised 6 crore, and that has actually become 20x for me in 3 years. And there are listed companies where I'm invested which have actually become 20x, 30x in last 4 5 years. But I have never invested in SMEs as of now. So I cannot say that SME is bad, but I'm saying that SME, many actually speakers spoke about, people don't get time to exit when there are bad times, and they are stuck most of the times. And the kind of stress that people feel in this, maybe that is as bad as stress as people actually do FNO, and they actually go through a lot of losses, and then they post that somebody has done suicide, somebody has gone bankrupt, all those kind of things. We don't want those kind of incidents, and we don't want to actually propagate that kind of learning to people.
No, so
That's it from my side. Thank you very much.
So Akhilesh, I'll definitely echo, what you're saying. But see, the problem is that end of the day, you have to do research on either this side or that side. Yeah, आपको research करना ही है, right? कहीं ना कहीं तो whether you find out a listed company, yeah, with the listed company, there is already definitely there is a lot of people has already analyzed it. All right, you have seen people like Rakesh Junjulwala and Titan, for an example, right? He made shitload of money out of Titan, and he held it through thick and thick, right? The kind of conviction that comes to have a large position in such a few, let's say, stocks, that comes with a very, very strong framework, strong sense of discipline, yeah, which is not very common in a retail investor, yeah. तो अगर मैं तो कहता हूँ कि भाई आप एसएमई में भी क्यों कर रहे हो, अगर इफ यू आर अ स्मॉल रिटेल इन्वेस्टर, go and put your money to aggressive mutual fund, small cap का ले लो. Most of the small cap has given 30-40% return in last year, while many of the let's say great investors who were celebrated with their own style of investing and their book, their PMS has actually given negative return. So even people, and these are the guys, I don't want to name somebody, but these were the guys who celebrated as one of the very, very shrewd investors of our time 2 years back. And nowadays his PMS is not generating any positive returns. So there is no right or wrong. Okay, end of the day, it's your conviction that matters. And I'll tell you my mother's example. So owns L&T, TCS, Ultratech shares from IPO. Those have given her like 7,000% return or something. Yeah. Just whatever 15,000 she invested 20 years back, 30 years back, has now become 20 lakhs and stuff like that. Yeah. But at the same time, there are equally more example where she bought some companies which are completely out, not trading at all, got listed, and she lost her money as well. So in the long run, the good companies will give you exceptional result, exceptional returns. You have to have capacity to hold it. But I look at it also in a different manner, sir. The drawdown or the holding a company through thick and thin. I don't believe in it, because I believe that whether I was wrong in picking the right company or whether I was wrong in picking the right company at a wrong valuation. Yeah. So I correct my mistake. I get a temporary exit. If I still like it, I'll buy it at 20% down, or I'll buy it after paying 5% more premium to the current price. Yeah. Once I have a signal coming in, either from a volume or a candle or some other fundamental news which are coming out. I don't want to hold the company through thick and thin, hoping ki I will be right. Yeah. I want to protect my downside because I am able to find the opportunity. If not this, then there is something else. If I am on cash, I'll be able to buy. Yeah. So for me, opportunity cost is also something which I need to keep in mind when I want to choose to stay invested into a company. Yeah.
Chintan, do you have a stop loss? I want to understand, like how you do. Do you have actually a stop loss key in a SME that if I go down 20%, I'll cut it off, or how is it?
So some definitely I get out at 2%, 3%, 5% as well. Yeah. Some I am holding few where I could not get out because of continuous LC, where I am also currently holding, let's say, Spectrum Talent. I have it at 40% loss as well, but it's only one single lot I have. Yeah, I have 80,000 rupees loss, something like that in that. But I have made 8 lakh rupees in the other I have bought. Yeah, where I exited at a 2% loss or 3% loss. Yeah. So there are.
No, but generally, do you have like a stop loss for yourself on SME key? If it hits below 20%, I'll be out no matter what,
Oh,
right?
I
Because the
exit
way
at
you are saying
5%
you get
itself.
in and out.
Not 20%. I exit usually at 5% itself.
Oh, 5% stop loss
Yeah,
you have. Okay.
why not?
Because
Yeah. So
5% volatility in a SME is like very easy. Yeah? On a daily basis, it happens, right? Like many good shares also, you'll see that in a week they'll come off down 20%. So how does a person chase 3x, 4x, 5x returns where it has so much volatility that it comes down very easily 25-30%. And then it many times it's happened with me that I said, okay, when especially initial stage when I started getting into SME, that I was thinking that like a small cap, I'll keep 20%, like a stop loss. And when it came like 25% down, I sold it. And within like 6 months, that stock was like 3x up.
yeah. So,
So in an SME, I feel that keeping a stop loss of like 20% or something, it never works.
so see what.
At least for my personal
Yeah. So see
experience.
what I do is that when my stock, the entry which I've taken is less than 10%, I keep a very daily kind of I go and update my stop loss daily. Yeah. Once I go forward, yeah, then I don't need to look at it daily. I remove my stop loss when the stock goes above 10%, 15% mark. Yeah. Because then I have already enough margin of safety कि मैं 2-3 LC survive कर लूंगा आराम से. Yeah. So after that, and also see, I buy it in a pyramid. I don't buy everything on day one. I don't exit everything on day one itself. Yeah. तो मेरा जब stop loss exit sorry hit होगा, then I'll get out, let's say 20%, 30% or 40% or 50% position, depending upon how much risk I have taken in that. Yeah. So that way my losses become reduced. So and I exit in tranches. Yeah. And I don't wait for the stock to become hit 5% LC, then decide I'm gonna hit. Yeah, I'm gonna get out. I already have my stop losses in the system, so जैसे ही आता है मैं देख लेता हूँ तो मैं चेंज करके मैं निकल लेता हूँ फिर. So you have to have that stop losses in the system and you have to act on it. But at the same time, once the trade is going in the right direction, you also need to step back a bit. Look at let's say आप 9 EMA या 13 EMA देख लो. अगर वो क्रॉस होता है तो आप बेच दो. लॉन्ग टर्म हो गया तो फिर 21 EMA या फिर 50 EMA पे देख लो और वो क्रॉस होता है तो बेच दो आप. तो दैट यू कैन एक्चुअली हैव इट एंड पुट इट. तो वो वीकली हो जाता है एक्सरसाइज. sometimes you want to sell in the strength. Yeah, so there is a concept which Mark Minervini teaches of saying ki bhai sell it in the strength. Yeah, even if you see this book by Jesse Livermore, yeah, the remembers of a stock market operator or something like that, reminiscence
Yeah.
of a stock market operator. So he says the same thing. I don't want to wait for the stock to reach its, the ultimate high. I want to get out in tranches. भले उसके बाद मेरा स्टॉक 10% 20% 50% ऊपर जाता है, मैं निकल लूंगा, मैं प्रॉफिट में निकला हूँ,
But
the problem
Meko, I don't know many people who actually use indicators for SME.
sure,
Like
why
on a
not?
small cap and all is okay, but on SME, even like when there's no volume, somebody can easily break that very easily, or play with those indicators very, very easily. So I actually never see charts for SME.
So why don't you
Sorry,
look
sorry
at
to cut
anchor
you.
VWAP, as a one of the indicator? I find that useful. All right. I also find
Which one?
EMI useful in the SME. I also find the candle, and the volume associated with the candle also useful on SME. Yeah. And once you start discerning that, you will be able to feel कि हाँ भाई यहाँ पे आपको volume contraction दिख रहा है. And once you start observing it, you will feel. See, I'll give you a few examples. Those guys are excellent on a technical analysis of SME. आप एक नैरित गाला है, उसका देख लीजिए. He puts on canceling based trades. Another is Riyank Arora. Nowadays Riyank has joined Mehta Security, तो इतना वो active नहीं रहा है Twitter पे, but he is a of ABV web. Yeah. So you look at
Okay.
their charts and their trade and try to understand, ask them questions कि भाई ये कैसे करना है? Why? How did you identify the VCP here in this SME? Yeah.
So
Okay.
Chintan, Naveen, so will